1 minute. Good morning. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome you to this school board meeting on Tuesday, November 18th, 2025. Please remove your hats and place your cell phones on silent for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prior to today's meeting, the board members and superintendent participated in a question-answer session with the STAR students from the Boys and Girls Club of Sarasota and DeSoto counties. STAR, which stands for Students Taking Active Roles, is a training program created to encourage youth to take active roles in their community. Would the students in the audience please stand, the STAR students? On behalf of the board, thank you very much for coming, and your questions were very in-depth. They weren't just surface questions, and I personally enjoyed very much having you here this morning, so thank you. Okay. I need a motion and a second to adopt the agenda with the posted additions after original publication.
Move that the Sarasota County School Board approve the November 18th, 2025 agenda as submitted with the following changes as noted.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay. Seeing none, please vote. The motion passes 5-0. Now we have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everyone. It's great to see everybody. As we start out to review the consent agenda today, there are a few items that I want to highlight. The first is our approval of a vocational instructional program agreement between Skillet's Restaurant and the school board. This is a new partnership that is added to a portfolio of agreements and will add the experience for students in the restaurant industry to get hands-on direct experience for our students with disabilities in the Venice, Northport, and Port Charlotte areas. And these are great programs that extend those workplace skills and really build their ability to have teamwork, collaboration, community, and really preparing students for post-secondary education and independent living. Item 9.2, we have several field trips, mostly ranging from Pineview and Riverview, going on various events across the nation with speech and debate, as well as TSA nationals going from Washington, D.C., Georgia, Massachusetts, Illinois, and Princeton, New Jersey. 9.14 is the purchase of approval for vendors under the cooperative contract with the process to find a competitive process for a fire apparatus. So we at Suncoast Technical Fire Academy have had a fire truck, but it has extended its life and is no longer useful for our training needs. And so under a pipeline grant that we got through the state of Florida, we are able to replace that fire truck with one that will provide up-to-date, relevant training experiences for those students in the fire academy. 9.26 is our annual approval of our school advisory council rosters, our bylaws, and our school-wide improvement plans. And these are developed every year collaboratively at the school. And they do identify measurable goals aligned to student achievement to ensure continuous improvement. So we look forward to the approval of our consent agenda, and those are just a few of the highlights for that. Our next item here is want to make you aware of our Barnes & Noble book drive that's running now through December 15th at the Tamiami Trail, Sarasota location. Please go out, purchase a book from the wish list, and you will help support Sarasota County Schools. We have a couple of job fairs we want to make you aware of. On Monday, December 1st, here at the Landings office, we'll be hiring for instructional and non-instructional vacancies. Come on out and interview. We have competitive salaries and we have 100% paid benefits. Also, we will be doing this again on Wednesday, December the 3rd at our Northport STC branch. And just want to remind you, after this week, we go into next week and we have a full week of Thanksgiving break. And so congratulations to making it to Thanksgiving break. And I hope you enjoy your time off and hope you are restored and rested as we come back for 3 more weeks before we enter the winter break. Want to remind you that at Booker High School on December 2nd, we will be having our last Insight meeting of this year from 6 to 7:30 at Booker High School. This is just an opportunity for the community to come out and Q&A with the board and the superintendent about whatever's on your mind. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Connor. So now we will have the hearing of citizens, the first segment of our meeting. This time is public comment only on agenda items. Each speaker will state their full name and will have up to 3 minutes. A timer will signal when 1 minute remains. Please conclude promptly when the timer ends. Please address your comments to the board, not the audience. Abusive language, personal attacks, or disruptive behavior will not be tolerated. Please direct any personal grievances or personal issues in writing to the school board office. Audience members are requested to listen quietly and respectfully. Outbursts, applause, and other interruptions that disrupt the meeting are not acceptable. Any person that interferes with the orderly process of this meeting after first being warned that such continued interference will result in removal will be removed. There are speakers in the room behind me that allow board members to hear public comments when stepping away from the dais. When your name is called, please approach the podium. If you choose to pass, you will forfeit your time to address the board. As a reminder, a recording cannot be played during your 3 minutes of public comment. We appreciate your cooperation, and let's begin with our first speaker, Mrs. Tompkins.
Thank you, Chair. The first person is Christy Carwatt, followed by Casson Doherty.
Has it started? Good morning. I'm Christy Carwatt, a retired teacher and public school advocate. I'm here to speak about Agenda Item 6.1, the approval of the 2026 school board meeting dates and time. First, I want to say I like the 10 o'clock meeting time because it works best for my schedule. But it doesn't work best for most of the stakeholders, the students, teachers, and working parents. Those are the people you should want to attend these meetings and hear from most because they are directly affected by the decisions made by this board. At the board workshop, one board member said that you are not going to find a time that works best for all concerned. I totally agree. But shouldn't you as a board want to find the time that works best for the greatest number of stakeholders? Isn't that what the community should expect of our public servants? Some board members have compared these meetings to the county commission meetings, saying that if 10 a.m. works for the commission, it should work for the school board as well. So I happened to check out several county commission agendas and found that most items did not directly affect students, teachers, and parents like the items on the school board's agenda. I am not sure how concerned the school board's stakeholders, especially the students, are in providing input about public transit systems, stormwater dredging, or rezoning. I do know that they are concerned about school policy, the possible takeover of school buildings and services by for-profit companies, and about the marginalization of some students in our schools. So I don't think the comparison is a very good one to use when trying to justify a 10 a.m. start time. I know many other ways exist for people to let the board know their concerns. Perhaps the easiest one is through email. But how can your constituents know that you're even reading their emails? When I was teaching, I had a way to see if my emails to board members had been opened. And on more than one occasion, they had not been opened by a couple of the members. So if your constituents can't trust you to read their emails, it is even more important to make these meetings as accessible as possible by holding them at 6 p.m. This time may be difficult for parents, staff, and some board members, but as it stands, it will only require people to make other arrangements once a month. Of course, that might mean that we will be burning the midnight oil unless you decide to follow the desire of the public and change the meetings to twice a month. If you keep the time at 10 a.m., students who wish to attend should be excused from school if a parent writes them a note. After all, I know how strongly some on this board support parental rights.
Thank you.
Casanova Doherty, followed by Dylan Ramsey.
Good morning, y'all. I'm Cass Doherty. I'm speaking on agenda item 6.1. I regret to inform you that my sibling Alex couldn't be here today because of the time change, despite being the exact kind of student you want to venerate in this boardroom. They have the grades and test scores to get into any college in the country. Countless schools, including multiple Ivy League universities, are sending out mail every week to our house to try and secure their attendance. They're civically engaged and active in their community, helping people and making it a better place to live, and yet you've made it inaccessible for this model student to attend this meeting. They're in school right now, making sure they maintain their grades and prospects. But it's not just them that can't be here. It's all students who'd have to cut class to attend a school board meeting. It's working parents and the people who'd have to leave their jobs to attend. It's your teachers who'd have to do the same. Your decisions about what they're allowed to learn, what they're allowed to do, how this school runs, or how their schools run matters more to them than anybody else in this community. You have a duty to be accessible to those people, which as present, you are not fulfilling. If you should seek to try and remedy that lack of fulfillment, move the meeting times back to 6 p.m. or at the very least alternate between the 6 and 10 times. You've already restricted us to one meeting a month. It is your job to make sure the voices of the communities your board is made to serve are heard in this room at a time when they are not busy learning, teaching, or otherwise working. Our schools thrive on community engagement. It is the part of the reason our district schools are so excellent. Please restore the accessible meeting times and keep our schools excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dylan Ramsey and Diane Becker.
Thank you, School Board, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Dylan Ramsey. I will be speaking on Amendment 6.1 today. I'm a native born and raised Sarasodian. I grew up in this public school system, and I am the proud father of 2 wonderful girls. The oldest just starting kindergarten this year in our public schools, and the youngest will be starting in a couple of years. Now, I'm here today because I want to advocate for the return to the 6 p.m. time and the twice-a-month school board meetings. The reorganization of multiple of our public schools being changed from K-5s to K-8 is one of the biggest changes to happen in our school system, at least in my lifetime. While going through this process, it makes zero sense to me to keep only a single meeting a month and to change it to an earlier time of the day. Our parents, teachers, and students deserve to be included in the process of the transition and the conversation. Which brings me more to my next point. I strongly urge the school board to reconsider the timing of these meetings. I'm privileged to be able to attend this meeting at 10 in the morning without too much hassle. Although, I really would have liked another cup of coffee. But seriously though, what about my fellow parents who aren't able to leave the office or the work site? What about our teachers and our students, which all this is for? Answer me this: how does it make sense that the only way that they can participate in the conversation about our children, our students, and our education is to play hooky? I ask the school board to please reconsider returning to the 6 p.m. meeting for the best possible accessibility for the participation in our public education system from all sides. Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Becker and Tom Desane.
Good morning. My name is Diane Becker. I'm a retired teacher and a registered voter. So you go from 2 meetings a month, both at 6 p.m., to 1 meeting a month, now at 10 a.m. And you want us to believe that you are here to serve teachers who are not able to be here because they're teaching, students, most of whom are unable to be here unless they jeopardize their education, parents, most of whom are unable to be here because they work for a living. That leaves retired members of the community to speak out against this egregious policy. Oh, but wait, you're trying to silence us too. Suddenly no one can sign up to speak online? Too convenient for your constituents? You've now decided to make even that more difficult. Why don't you want to hear from the people you supposedly serve? That literally is part of your job. This is the action you take when there are so many more pressing issues at hand. Look at what happened at Wilkinson. Together we came up with many viable strategies to solve the problem of closing the only STEM school in the state. That was done through community input, the very input you apparently want silenced. Severe budget issues, cancerous schools of hope on our doorsteps. And instead of looking to the community for help, you seem to want us to just go away. Well, I have news for you. We are not going away. My ask is that you behave like a school board that cares about public schools, the public schools you serve, by having 2 meetings a month, one at 10 a.m. and one at 6 p.m. At least try to regain your integrity, even if you have to fake it. Now, on religious expression, many people have already spoken about this, myself included. We are not against prayer. Most of us, if not all of us, engage in prayer daily. Prayer is deep personal and does not belong here. It's about choosing something that is divisive or choosing something that can unite us. Let me refresh your memory. There were 2 suggestions made that will achieve your goals. One is a moment of silence, so each person can reflect, pray, meditate in his or her own unique way. The second was to ground us by reciting the vision statement of Sarasota County Schools. Either of those would work. This is your chance to show the community what kind of school board you want to be. And let me also remind you that your decision will be on record. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Desane and Lydia Miller.
Madam Chair, board members, first of all, thanks for being here and thank you for doing everything that you do. I know it's not easy to sit up there and get insulted, so I wanted to start with a thank you. My name's Tom Desane. I'm a tax-paying member of Sarasota County and the proud father of a graduate of Sarasota County schools. I think our schools are excellent. I'm here to support item 10.3, prayer prior to the meeting. Personally, I've been a member of many boards and organizations over the years, and I believe it's a great American tradition to start a meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance and an invocation. I believe that these traditions have a great are a great example of our First Amendment rights. And those who don't want to participate, it's their freedom to also not participate. Ignore it or do something else. If you want to reflect in a moment of silence, that's great too. But I believe that as Americans, we should remember that our Constitution gives us rights that to do things we cherish, but also people have rights to do things we don't agree with. And fortunately, over my career, I swore many oaths to protect those rights, whether I agreed with them or not. And I'm glad I did. And I always stuck to my oath. So in closing, I would just like to thank everyone again and say, God bless America.
Thank you.
Lydia Miller and Corrine Prochnow.
Good morning. Thank everyone for being here. First of all, my name is Lydia Miller. I'm a full-time resident in Sarasota, Florida, and I'm here to speak to issue Article 6.1. It's important to the continuation of public schools, I feel, because our input isn't being allowed at the times when the school board meets. 10 o'clock is just not an available time for most people. It was difficult for me, and most people do not have the ability to come here at 10 in the morning, so I'm asking you to have the meetings, at least one meeting at 6 p.m. In being here to support public schools and their role and value in our community, it's also important that the tax dollars slated in the budget for public schools need to be remaining to those schools. Right now, money is being given to private for-profit schools with billionaires at the helm, and that's not serving us. Schools are going into disrepair because of this, and classrooms are just not getting the same volume or the same quality of education. And we also know that for-profit businesses are for-profit. That's what they do. They're there to make money. They're not necessarily there to provide the best service. And we see this in our health insurance, in our property insurance. As soon as you make a claim, you get dropped. As soon as you get sick, you get dropped. So I don't want the same thing to happen with private schools dropping students who are maybe more difficult to educate, or they just can't put in any financial element that may be required, say uniforms or whatever. So I'm asking you to move times of your meetings to a time zone where the most people can speak out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Corrine Prochnow and Lucas Carpenter.
Good morning. My name is Corrine Prochnow, and I'm a retired special education teacher. I would like to comment on agenda item 10.3, religious expression at school board meetings. I've always found that religious expression to be very personal. One of the ways we ensure religious freedom in this country is through separation of church and state. Although I can appreciate all the time and effort that you have put in to ensure some equal representation from the various religions in our community, I feel that time and effort should be put into decisions that directly impact the success of our students and teachers. The policy states that the purpose of the invocation is to assist board members in setting their minds to a higher purpose and to ease their task of governing the district. This also sounds personal. I do see the validity of a moment of silence for all of us to set our intentions, get our minds right before meetings proceed. But again, this is personal. The words and phrases that help me set my intentions may be different for someone else. A 30-second moment of silence should be more than enough time to get one's mind right to do their designated job. Your time and our time is valuable, and we should be spending our limited time on decisions that have a direct positive effect on our students and staff. If board members need more time or they need a shared religious phrasing, then perhaps they can do so before the board meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lucas Carpenter and Stanislav Kosterman.
Hello, my name is Lucas Carpenter, and I'm speaking on agenda item 6.1, and I used my PTO time to be here because I can do that for a 10 a.m. meeting as a Sarasota County school student. I'm just kidding, but I know that some of y'all don't think that I am one of y'all's primary constituents, and I know that what I say might not change your mind, but please hear me out. A big part of our education, which I hope you know, is having a growth mindset. Sarasota Public Schools have taught me about growth mindsets since my elementary days, and teachers continue to talk about them now, just without the big construction paper of a tree filled with ideas. An important part of a growth mindset is changing your opinions and your ideas, growing. When I debate a peer and they pull out a bunch of peer-reviewed scholarly sources, I can accept when the blog I read 5 years ago was wrong. I changed my viewpoint on something. What's important to me and to my peers is that we see this type of behavior reflect in your own actions. Think about this. If you pass an agenda item which made students wear uniforms in all the schools, who is impacted by this the most? Students who wear the uniforms or the retired voters who don't have kids in the school system? If you passed an agenda item that made teachers wear clown costumes, who would be the most effective? The teachers who have to wear them and the students who will be distracted all of class. So how can you say that we and our parents are not the primary constituents? You are not politicians above all else. You are leaders. Act like it and put your students before your own political interests. Thank you, and I'll see you soon, whether it's during my educational hours or after. You can decide.
Thank you.
Stanislav Kosterman and Lisa Shore.
Hello, Chair and board members. My name is Stan Kosterman. I'm a taxpayer from Sarasota. I believe the development of our youth is important to our country. Through school, we'll learn how to operate in this world, how to be involved, and how to contribute to society. Giving students the chance to participate in a school board meeting doesn't just benefit the quality of the public education system, but also launches our youth into lifelong civic action. Under Agenda 6.1, I urge you to restore 6 p.m. meetings or alternate times so no one is excluded. Students should not have to choose between missing class or a morning meeting, not to mention the difficulties this causes for teachers and working parents. Making meeting times more accessible will grant our youth the chance to learn firsthand that it is real and it is possible to interact with your environment and make an impact. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Lisa Shore and Avery Cole.
My name is Lisa Schur. I'm a resident of Sarasota County, taxpayer, and a co-founder of Support Our Schools, which is a tax-exempt organization which advocates on behalf of proper funding of public education, provision of an excellent public education to all students. With respect to item 6.1, there's no need for me to repeat ad nauseum. The options that we have the best would be going back to 2 meetings per month, 1 at 10, 1 at 6. It's imperative because we are facing so many issues, not just the Schools of Hope co-location, but the continued defunding of our public schools in favor of for-profit charter schools and private schools. If you're unwilling to have 2 meetings a month, perhaps you'd consider moving the meeting time back to 6 p.m. so that students, working parents, and teachers may attend. Other speakers have already spoken very eloquently on this point. If you're unwilling to move all meeting times back to 6, could you at a minimum, please consider alternating meetings at 3 p.m. one month and 6 p.m. the next month? If we are trying to ensure that our young people are engaged in the democratic process and that they have a better understanding of civics, what better way is there than having them involved and engaged in school board matters that impact every day of their lives? With respect to agenda item 10.3, while I and many other people in this room have a deep and abiding faith in a deity or deities and believe in the personal power of prayer and meditation, we also recognize and support the longstanding separation of church and state and the safeguards provided by the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment. I spent the weekend doing a deep dive on case law and law review articles, and there is a distinction made in most of the circuits that have looked at this, and that is that the legislative purpose that you have with a Congress or state legislature or even the county commissioners, this is something that historically has gone on for 200 years from the very first setting of the Congress. Prayer has occurred. That is not true for school boards. You haven't had this invocation. You've been given plenty of other opportunities to, moment of silence, whatever it may be. You're taking a risk here. What you're doing is potentially an unconstitutional act. So I'd ask you to think long and hard about doing this when we can find a better way. You can go in the back room and have a prayer, the 5 or 6 of you. There's no need to bring it here. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you.
Avery Cole and Julie Forrester.
Good morning. My name is Avery Cole, and I'm a junior at Booker High School, and I'm speaking on agenda item 6.1, the change in meeting times. The students are here today. They are here because no matter what time these meetings are at, they will be here. That is how much we care about our education. The question is now, does this board care about their students and their education? We have tried the 10 a.m. schedule, but the meeting dates and times should be when it is possible for all to attend the meeting, not just the taxpayers or the non-working parents, but every single student, every single staff member, every single parent, every single teacher, every single person should be able to attend these meetings at times that work for them. In attending both 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. meetings, I have found that both times have worked. So there is a solution. It is reinstating a meeting, so we have 2 meetings a month with one at 10 a.m. and one at 6 p.m. so we all can have the opportunity to attend. And also, we also might want to think about allowing students the opportunity to sign out of school with either a form or maybe a field trip to attend these 10 a.m. meetings. Because we all really want to be here. We all want to give you our perspective. We all want to talk to you. We have great ideas for this district. We have great ideas for our schools, but we cannot do that unless we are here. It is up to you. We are here to work with you. All you need to do is work with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie Forrester and Jamie Barrett.
Good morning, board members and Superintendent Connor. I'm Julie Forrester, and I'm here today as a proud parent of Sarasota County public school students. As a mom of 2 young kids, I spend a lot of time trying to get them to listen. When they don't, when they talk over me, when they purposefully ignore me, when they pretend that they just don't hear me, it's really frustrating. But at least they're children. They're still learning how to listen. What's harder to explain is when grown adults, elected officials nonetheless, refuse to listen to the very people they serve. Every elected member of this board ran on the promises of expanding opportunities for public engagement. You campaigned on transparency, on accessibility, on giving the community a voice. Now today, those promises are being walked back, not by Liz or Tom, the 2 members who consistently show up for this community, but by the 3 who seem intent on shutting that community out. Let's be honest, the proposed meeting schedule is not about efficiency. It's not about improving the quality of governance. It is about limiting who gets to participate. One monthly meeting at 10 a.m. does not work for most working parents, teachers, support staff, or students. It doesn't work for the majority of the people who rely on the public school systems you were elected to serve. A healthy Democratic board would have one daytime meeting and one evening meeting so everyone gets a fair chance to be heard. But instead of making it easier for families to participate, this board is making it harder. And why? Because the voices showing up don't all agree with you, because the students speaking up are challenging you, because the community is paying attention. Silencing people because they disagree with you is not leadership, it is not transparency, and it certainly isn't what any of you promised when you asked for our votes. At the same time, while we're facing real challenges, things like budget strain and looming threats of schools of hope, this board is wasting taxpayer dollars on things like developing a prayer policy and the bureaucracy needed to enforce it. This is a distraction from student achievement, not an investment in it. We don't need more political theater. We need a board that listens, a school board that remembers who it represents, a school board that keeps its promises, a school board focused on protecting public education. I can excuse my youngest kids for not listening because, after all, they're 4 and 6 years old. They're still learning. But you are elected leaders. You know better. And when our leaders stop listening, they stop leading. So let me be clear, this community is paying attention. We are involved, we are organized, and we will continue to show up in bigger numbers every single time you try to shut the public out. You may choose not to listen, but you cannot hide from the people you serve. Sarasota deserves a school board that reflects it.
Thank you.
Jamie Barrett and Deb Hayes.
Good morning. I'm Jamie Barrett, and I'm speaking on Agenda 10.3 and 6.1. And I want to thank you, Madam Chair, Ms. Marinelli, and all the board members, Superintendent Mr. Connor, and Attorney Duncan for this opportunity to speak. I was so delighted that you all came together last month to come up with solutions, and I hope we can continue to do so. I have learned so much this year about choice, about making strong policies, our amendment rights, and following the law. Students have a choice to go to religious school. I don't understand why we're even talking about prayer in public schools when the Supreme Court that led or sponsored prayer is unconstitutional in 4 different cases. If a student wants to pray privately or wants to talk about their religion speech, that's considered freedom of speech, as long as the school isn't sponsoring it. Moment of silence laws have been upheld and would be a positive compromise because it's legally accepted. I'm really confused. You believe in choice. You believe in policies. Amendment rights. This should apply to all religion. I believe in God, but legally we need and should keep the separation of church and state. Keep it as our forefathers wanted. This seems to be a distraction to separate us. No matter our beliefs, the law is the law. This doesn't make sense. We're in a financial crisis together. Billionaires and hedge fund managers are planning to come and invade our schools, grab our land, and make a profit off our tax dollars. We're in a financial crisis because when students move from a charter school back to a public school, the funds aren't following them. I'm most concerned for our students, teachers, parents, because this affects them the most. I would like them to be heard. We need to go back to 2 meetings a month, one at 10 and one at 6, for total updates and transparency as we maneuver through these challenging times. Transparency creates teamwork. Uncertainty creates chaos. People have the right to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you.
Deb Hayes and Zaire Kakahuna Samudi.
Good morning. My name is Deb Hayes, here today as a public school advocate and a grandparent of a district high school student. I have grave concerns about the meeting schedule being proposed for the next year, and I'm asking you to schedule 2 meetings a month with times that are conducive to parent, student, and worker involvement. These are not ordinary times. There is an existential crisis occurring in public education. Forces that are seeking its demise are strong. This board must be concerned not only for agenda items, but for the concept of education for all, and the fears experienced by those who you represent. The business of the board means more than approving contracts. Frankly, you could do that in your PJs from home. The business of the board means providing fiduciary responsibility to this community in ensuring the safety of our students, schools, and yes, property. Recently, Schools of Hope legislation has provided you with an additional challenge for which you will be held accountable. Your constituents need your attention. People need to be heard. They need to be able to voice their concern and recommend solutions to the threats that are impacting them. This community is very supportive of our schools and very concerned about increasing privatization. And the community of students, parents, full-time workers deserve predictable, realistic times to be allowed to be involved and participative in the governance process, especially as these threats come closer and closest to their homes. Every meeting, there are substantive issues, and the board should benefit from the perspectives of its prime constituents. Students should not need to take an unexcused absence to have their voices heard. Parents and full-time day workers should not need to take days off to be part of the civic processes with the school board. One meeting at 10 a.m. is a dream come true if you do not value participation or input. But that may be your dream come true. What do you say to those whose dreams are just as valuable, but who cannot, because of the timing, attend to share their questions and vision? This is one problem with an easy fix. Schedule 2 meetings a month with at least one scheduled at a time in which students, parents, and full-time workers can attend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zaire Kekahuna Samudi and Jane Armstrong.
Good morning. My name is Zaire Kekahuna Samdi, and I'm here speaking on item 6.1. I feel a little bit nostalgic when I look back at this time last year when we had 2 meetings a month at 6 p.m. and seeing how that accessibility has been chipped at since then. And even at the first Insight community meeting, I asked if there would even be the possibility of expanding how many of those meetings we have in the year. And you guys had shut it down and said that there weren't yet any plans to expand those town hall meetings. So earlier this month, when we were all discussing Schools of Hope and we had the community meetings held at different schools around the county, you guys not only listened to our concerns, but you guys listened to our input and our solutions that we proposed, and you guys implemented those solutions into the district plan that you guys voted on earlier this month. And earlier this month at the special meeting, that was the first meeting that I felt like we had a somewhat functioning board. It felt like a somewhat normal board meeting, not because of how quick it went, but because of the fact that you all had also highlighted the fact that the community's input was a primary factor to how successful that plan would work in terms of protecting our schools from Schools of Hope. So I'm disappointed with the fact that we are having to beg you guys for more accessibility. And I know it's impossible to, help or appease everybody, but it's totally tangible for you guys to at least improve the accessibility for as many people as possible. So just like my peers here today, I'm asking you all to go back to 2 meetings a month, one at 10 a.m., one at 6 p.m. So that way we do have options, or like Lisa Sure proposed, to alternate between the start times every month. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jane Armstrong and Tamara So.
Good morning. I'm Jane Armstrong. I'm a Florida resident. I've lived the last 45 years in Sarasota County. I grew up in Bradenton. I have 4 children. They've all graduated. I now have a grandchild that's in public school here. I've witnessed a lot of theater in my lifetime. One of the things that really concerns me is how shut out public, the teaching staff that make the system run, and the students are in diminishing the number of meetings that are held and the time. You should be opening the gates as wide as you can. The people need to be heard. There are a lot of smart people in this community and a lot of resources. And you're excluding that at your peril. The other thing that I would like to talk about a little bit is I remember when Madeleine Murray O'Hair and the Supreme Court decision about praying in schools came down. And one day at school, I was at Walker Junior High School in Manatee County. And normally we'd get up and say the Lord's Prayer and do this Pledge of Allegiance. And instead of saying that, they just said, we will all have a moment of silent meditation. The separation of church and state is pivotal. Spiritual development is something that can happen within school systems, but it comes from within. And I would like to see all of our meetings begin with a call for silent meditation around cooperation, respect, and compassion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tamara Solom and Leela Newcomb.
Good morning, school board members and Superintendent Connor. I'm Tamara Solom. I am the mom of 2 Sarasota County graduates from Sarasota County Schools. I am a grad student. I am a substitute teacher. I am the proud wife of a retired U.S. Coast Guard Chief Petty Officer. And I'm here today to speak on Amendment 6.2. What am I not doing today? Today, I am not accepting a substitute teaching assignment that would help my family financially. I am not working on my research proposal for my grad class, Foundations in Education. I am not working on my school counselor comprehensive exams studying. I am not working on my handbook for counseling students with anxieties for my group counseling class. I am not taking care of the homeless student who is living with me at this moment, whose mother passed away at a shelter, who has a chronic recurrent osteomyelitis, I can't even say it, and had to drop out of school for a period of time. He also needs to go help his brother, who is at USF, to help him do his laundry, because his brother is also impacted by sciatica, pending further medical diagnoses. Those are the things I'm not doing today because I'm here. But today I have the privilege and the flexibility to be here in front of you and speaking for you. What I am doing is speaking on behalf of teachers, school employees, parents, students, and Sarasota County citizens who have a right to be heard. As stakeholders in our Sarasota County Public Schools, we are entitled to be able to express our concerns and our opinions in this public forum. What better way to engage our students that are here today in the lessons of civics by offering them an opportunity to speak? 10 a.m. is a prohibitive time for our working school professionals, for our students, for our parents and citizens that are in our community. We are facing so many issues that impact policy, curriculum, and funding in our public schools. I am urging this board to return to providing 2 meetings a month, where one meeting is at 10 a.m. and one is at 6 p.m. That way you get your 10 a.m. people who are retired or who have flexibility, and you get your 6 p.m. people who are working all day who have important things to impart to you. As our board members, it would be in your best interest to uphold the wishes of your constituents. You have a duty to provide accessibility to members of the community. Some of you are up for re-election. And if you choose to ignore the wishes of those directly affected by your...
Thank you.
Leela Newcomb and Sebastian Martinez.
Hi, Leela Newcomb. I'm still grandmother of 2 in Sarasota Public Schools and 1 graduate now thriving in college thanks to everything she got from her schools here, K through 12. I'm going to change it up and talk on item 6.3. I'm going to strongly recommend that you nominate and vote in Mr. Tom Edwards for chairman. It is his turn, excuse me. He is fabulous, highly intelligent, a great speaker, and absolutely for all students and not for any hidden agenda. I, of course, have seen all the nonsense about conflict of interest and all that. Not true, of course. What I think is conflict of interest is the ongoing rallying for the for-profit charter schools, of which there have been more than one. They are not for every student and are leeching me from our public school system, and they only serve to line the pockets of certain millionaires. Not the case with Mr. Edwards. So I want to take a second here to thank all of you for standing united recently against the Schools of Hope, and especially Mr. Connor for your careful planning. It looks like you folks are, in fact, capable of working across party lines. Voting Mr. Edwards in as chair would show that you really mean that, among other things. One more thing on this. I recently saw a comment about how some parents don't want their child's photograph to be published. Well, I happen to know that every year when somebody registers or re-registers a child, they have the option of not allowing their child to be photographed or published. So I think it would be the responsibility of the teacher or principal, but not of a school board member who comes in to read to kids. Miss Marinelli, I enjoyed a recent comment that you made about how you and Tom are both passionate and maybe even like siblings that fight every so often. But usually siblings that fight eventually come together, stick together, and have a common purpose. I like passion myself, it's honest. So maybe we can come together on this one. And on that note, I would like to suggest Ms. Marinelli for vice chair. One last thing on the 6 p.m. meetings. Without them, you never have a chance for students to come here and perform. And I was going to lobby for my younger granddaughter, who has a gorgeous singing voice, and she sang the Star-Spangled Banner at her 8th grade graduation last year and knocked my socks off personally. You'd love it. You would love it. So anyway, Liz Barker, you're fabulous, and I can't wait till it's your turn.
Thank you.
Sebastian Martinez and Linda Larson.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Sebastian Martinez, and today I wanted to speak on the change in meeting times. Just as a reminder, Karen Rose, Bridget Ziegler, Robert Marinelli voted to make meetings impossible for students or working parents to attend without them missing school or calling off of work. I wanted to take a moment to go back to a discussion that occurred during a workshop where Ms. Ziegler, Ms. Rose, and Ms. Marinelli made very clear their belief that A, students are not the main constituents that they need to hear from, so I love the public appreciation you show for our students, but let's be clear about your record. And B, we should explore the idea of increasing the punishment for students participating in civic actions or define what the unexcused absence policies are to ensure that civic participation is not an excused absence, unless it's approved by the school board, which is a government-approved civic expression. If the school board approves student presence at school board meetings, such as the STAR Leadership Program, which is a phenomenal program, but does that punitive action extend to young Republicans who go to legislative session to give public comment during the school week? Does that apply to our Turning Point chapter student members who attend press conferences during the school day? So I just want clarity on that. But my main point is, why create a problem that didn't exist by moving meetings from 6 p.m. to 10 a.m.? Aside from everything you're going to hear tonight, or morning, I wanted to zoom out, keep an open mind, and just see if the change in meeting times was best practice across the state. But what I found was that 53 of Florida's 67 school districts, and my original plan was to read all of them, have their board meetings either at 4 p.m., 5 p.m., or 6 p.m. So clearly, board members around the state recognize who they're supposed to serve on a school board. But I think that you know that, and that it's not best practice.
Because for Robin, Karen, and Bridget, it was quite literally never been about students. It wasn't when you voted for an anti-trans resolution. It wasn't when Robin physically tore up board member Edwards' resolutions that simply stated that the school board is going to serve every student. And it most definitely wasn't the focus of Rose's re-election campaign, where you spent more time and money attacking trans people instead of explaining what you were going to do for students. It's why you dumped over $150,000 of your own money and lost and had to be reappointed by the governor. I also want to be clear that I'm not attacking you as individuals, as individual board members, but simply stating your record of putting your students last. So I'm asking that you reevaluate who you serve. I'm asking that you reevaluate the start of meeting times, or reconsider and reevaluate whether or not you should be sitting on that board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Linda Larson and Lieutenant Colonel Duff Smiley.
My name is Linda Larson. I'm a Sarasota resident for the last 60 years, and I want to speak to item number 6.1. I, like the 17 people before me, would like to see those meetings return to twice a month, and I would compromise by saying one of them at 6 and one of them at 10. So that's my point of view, and the 17 people before me. And I did not keep a count of last month, how many people stood up and asked for that, who wanted to keep it at night where these people could attend. You know the reasons why. Everyone's telling you the reasons why. So the question I had was, if so many people are for this, and you are hearing them tell you they are for this, why would you not give it more weight? What is swaying you to turn it to 10 o'clock in the morning? So I went on the website, and I was just looking around yesterday, Sarasota County Board website, and I saw that for 2026, the meeting dates have been published. They've been published for one time a month at 10 o'clock in the morning, as if this vote had already taken place. I don't understand that. That doesn't even make sense. So what it tells me is, you don't want to hear what these people have to say. That makes me distressed because it's about them. But you really don't, and I'm using a collective you that is not accurate. Thank you, Ms. Barker. Thank you, Mr. Edwards, for stepping up and advocating to have these meetings be when people can attend. Thank you. But we have a majority that's saying, I don't care what the people want. I don't care what their opinion is. We're going to keep it this way. So I asked one of the young people here, I said, I'm kind of new to this. I've only been at these meetings a couple of times. What is the point of these meetings? And I looked and I saw that, in fact, you are required to have one meeting, public meeting per month. And I thought, but what's the point of the meeting? If people are asking you for what they want and you're saying no, what's the point? Is it perfunctory? Is it just an exercise in fulfilling your obligation? And he said, it's so we can go on the record for what we want. Well, I just need to tell you, we're going on the record. I'm going on the record here. I'm going to go on the record to anyone who will listen, raise county awareness of this, and I hope you prove me wrong, and I hope you vote to have 2 meetings a month. Me wrong.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Colonel Duff Smiley and Tracy Lipton.
My name's Duff Smiley. I was a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force and a combat pilot over many years. When I was a student, I loved long, boring, repetitive meetings. I sought those out my whole career. And it's especially nice to be able to insult adults without having any consequences. So I think we need more than 2 meetings a month. We need 4 or 5 so that we can be even more ineffective. But I'd like to talk a little bit more about our leaders and who should be leading this school. And we need leaders who support patriotism, who love America, and feel that this is the greatest country in the world, and it is. And I don't hear anything about that anymore. It's all about down in the weeds. Right now, the battle for America's soul is being fought in our classrooms, and it's a critical time for leadership like Karen Rose, Robin Marinelli, and Bridget Ziegler to lead our school board. They believe education should be a place of empowerment, not indoctrination, and that critical thinking is more important than critical theory. They believe in values that build country, liberty, personal responsibility, and faith. They believe that students should be taught how to think, not what to think. They stand for patriotism. They stand for the flag, and there's still a few people in here that don't do that. They believe that America is worth defending, not just with words, but with action. They honor our history, our Constitution, and the fight for our future where freedom is preserved and expanded. They stand with me for traditional values, faith, family, and community. These are the foundation of our strong society, and they do not apologize for defending them. So I support Karen and Robin and Bridget to continue principles that will make our county and our schools great with a bigger commitment to our country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tracy Lipton and Carol Maybe.
First, let me take a few seconds of my time to give my apologies for expressing myself a bit too expressively at the last school board meeting. I do not want to be the person that calls out others for being ill-mannered and childish to me. I mean, gosh, in particular, there's a person I'm familiar with whose husband harasses myself and others, other wonderful people I know consistently in an immensely impish manner. And then to act that same way myself, I wouldn't want that. So sincere apologies to all of you. I am not that woman. Agenda item 6.1. You have seen switching the time of meetings from evening to morning has clearly not stopped the people from coming out and speaking, but it has indeed caused chaos. To keep up with the ebb and flow with the unanimous vote recently, to do everything possible to keep the for-profit run billionaire schools of nope that has a record of failing over and over again of our schools. And by the way, kudos, serious kudos to you all for that. And since we are not going away, can we all come together and agree that 6 p.m. is best for everybody? Students won't be walking out of school, parents won't be missing work, your very own teachers can be heard as they should be, and there will not have to be an hour-long break in the meeting so you go to another meeting because the school board meeting has gone on too long. School board members have said to our faces that they want to hear from us, and it's been evidence that regardless, you will hear from us. So please just make good on those statements so that everything could be discussed in a timely fashion and the meetings could be more proactive. Have one meeting a month at 6 p.m. and one at 10 a.m. I think it's a fair compromise that would show we can come together for the greater good, children's education. Agenda item 10.3, prayers for the churches and temples and mosques in your homes and with your family. Prayer is private and religious, and the Constitution does demand the separation of church and state. As for stating it would be fair because it would be a lottery system, there are 13 Catholic churches, 67 non-denominational Christian churches, and 31 Southern Baptist churches in Sarasota, synagogues and temples, 3 Buddhist temples, 1 mosque, and 0 satanic temples so far. Keep in mind, there are just 6 religions mentioned out of the over 300 religions practiced in this country where we have freedom of religion and also freedom to not practice religion. The last school board meeting, the invocation called for bowing our heads to Jesus Christ. And quite frankly, what does that have to do with children's education? This is unfair and unconstitutional in the very least. Myself, I'm an agnostic Buddhist with an entirely Jewish heritage, and I know that I would rarely, if ever, be represented. I'm just one of many that would be in that same genre. We're more divided than I've ever seen in my many years of life, and it's ugly and it's tacky, and I would love to see us put all this bickering aside and just focus on what we're all supposed to be here for. Agenda item 6.3. I stand behind Mr. Tom Edwards for school board chair as he has gone above and beyond for the children, has gone above and beyond to be fair, and has everybody's best interest at heart. And although Liz Barker is in her first term, I don't think anybody has proved more deserved of co-chair as reflected in their work, in her words, in her diligence, in her dedication to the children. And lastly, remember in November.
Thank you.
Carol Maybe and Jane Mendola.
Carol Maybe, and I'm a grandmother of 5 Sarasota county schools that go to the Sarasota schools. I'm going to speak about 6.1, switching times. I think it's really outrageous that this has happened, that you can't represent the students, the teachers, the parents, that they cannot come to this meeting at 10 o'clock. We need to switch back to the the 6 o'clock meeting. Twice a month would be perfect, but even if we had to do one at 6 and one at 10, because there's nothing more important than hearing from the students and from the teachers and from the parents. And then the 10.3 is prayers in schools. I think the separation of church and state. I don't think that we should be having prayers in school. There's too many different religions, as Tracy said. And I highly recommend 6.3, Tom Edwards for chair and Liz Barker for co-chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jane Mendola and Ali Chung.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I'm extremely nervous. I'm not a big public speaker. I'm here to address items 6.3 and then on to 10.3. In my opinion, we need to keep the momentum in public schools as it relates to getting politics out of the classroom, focusing on achievement and meeting the challenges and the districts face. We need conservative leadership for our schools now more than ever, not to be distracted by different ideologies, progressive pet causes, or other things that distract from education. By the way, I come from a family of educators. 100% of my family were educators. I'm the black sheep of the family, and that's probably why I'm here. Please select conservative, common sense leaders for both chair and vice chair to lead our school board meetings and keep the focus on education and the kids, not politics. Of course, extracurricular activities, one can address politics, joining organizations such as TPUSA or STAR, which is greatly represented here at this meeting. And this is a way that they can more understand politics and veer towards their own inclinations. Now, 10.3. Prayers in the form of an invocation is allowed before a legislative meeting. A school board meeting is a type of legislative meeting because school boards are local legislative bodies that set policy, create budgets, and govern a public school district with the framework of state laws. In the light of this, I am advocating that an invocation, which is not necessarily a prayer unless it says that in the dictionary, it should be spoken at the beginning of our school board meetings, with, of course, the invocation calling upon God or a higher power, not a specific religion. In God we trust. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ali Chung and Jacob Roche.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Ali Chung, and I'm here today representing the student journalists of Sarasota County, and I am proud to stand before you as our proposed amendment to Policy 4.51 reaches its final step in a long and meaningful process. This journey has been driven by our commitment to civic engagement and our belief that student participation in these processes is fundamental to a healthy and transparent community. Throughout this process, we have seen firsthand the importance of giving students a voice, not just in a newsroom or classroom, but in the decisions that shape our school environment. We identified an issue within our community that needed attention, and rather than remain passive, we took responsibility to seek solutions. I hope our work exemplifies how civic participation can begin at the student level and can create positive change. Central to our efforts is the crucial principle of free speech. Free speech is the foundation of our society, and it should be no different in our schools. Free speech allows students to responsibly and ethically express the truth without fear of retaliation. Without free speech, student voices are silenced and meaningful dialogue becomes impossible. We need a safe space where students can challenge ideas and be heard, because it is through this exchange that growth and progress can happen. I believe that free speech and the opportunity to utilize these meetings are intertwined. By advocating for this amendment, we hope not only to improve policies, but also to inspire future students to be involved in civic processes. I'm so proud of what we have already been able to accomplish and grateful for the support that has made this process possible. The passage of this amendment is a necessary step to ensure that students have a meaningful and protected platform for their voices to be heard. That is the goal of New Voices, and that is what we are here to accomplish today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacob Roche, and Ava Leonards.
All right, hello, I'm Jacob Roche, also with the Pineview Torch. I'm going to discuss agenda item 10.2, or revision to policy 4.51. So, throughout the public comment period, I've talked to people who have asked me why are we, as student journalists, supporting a policy that at face value seems to restrict what we can print. And I really appreciate it when people say this because it tells me that they care, that they're trying to look out for the best interests of student journalists. So I really do appreciate that sentiment. So I don't mind explaining to them that this policy is actually something that some of my fellow student journalists and I helped draft. And in a second, we'll have some more of us come up and explain the important parts of it and why it matters. But for now, I just wanted to take a second to explain why this policy isn't really restricting responsible, ethical student journalists. Because it clears up questions that student journalists have across the county about what they can and cannot say, because it clearly is out the relationship between student journalists, school administrators, and the county, we're actually more free under this policy, because now we have a set of rules to stick to. This policy will protect our rights to speech while simultaneously ensuring that content that every reasonable person I've talked to agrees is harmful and has no place in student publications is not allowed. And although that all may sound a bit basic, that's what people in my publication have wanted and talked about implementing for at least the past decade. And I'm incredibly glad that we're finally getting this opportunity to turn that into reality. So thank you all so much for your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ava Leonards and Dia Panthulu.
Hello. As some of you may know, I am Ava Leonards, the editor-in-chief of Pineview's newspaper, The Torch. I'm here to talk a little bit about the work from our side that has gone into getting Policy 4.51 onto the agenda item 10.2 for today's meeting. We first had the idea of creating a new policy last year at the Columbia Scholastic Press Association's convention in New York City. We are fortunate enough to get the opportunity to attend that through Pineview's journalism program. There, we met representatives from the Student Press Law Center who introduced us to the New Voices movement. This led us to realize that if we have a disagreement with the current policy, it is up to us to advocate for ourselves. Change is possible, but it's in our hands to make it come to fruition. Thus, over the summer, a group of Torch staffers met bi-weekly and worked hard to research all 67 districts in the state of Florida to construct our own well-rounded policy that would benefit both students and administration by creating clearer guidelines. We then presented this policy to all of you, and as you know, we have worked tirelessly to get it to this point. Attending various school board meetings and a work session, working hours outside of school, creating a New Voices Club at Pineview, and missing countless days of instruction to come support our policy throughout the process. We have done all this work because it's important. It is important to support First Amendment rights, even at a student level, which is what this policy hopes to accomplish through its revisions. We appreciate all the time you've taken from your busy schedules to look over the policy drafted by students, and we thank you all for your support. We hope you continue this support and vote yes on Policy 4.51 today. We will continue coming to school board meetings to discuss what's important, but it would be nice to not have to miss valuable learning time to do so. But we greatly appreciate your time, so thank you.
Thank you.
Dia Panthulu and Andrew Ashby.
Good morning. I'm Dia Panthulu, a Pineview school student here with my newspaper staff to discuss Section 1 of Policy 4.51. Having been in journalism for 2 full years, I've learned so much more than I could have ever imagined. What started out as class quickly turned into an experience that has been unforgettable, with people besides me who've inspired me to grow in ways I never thought were possible. However, as an editor of a middle school newspaper, The Spark, last year, I experienced issues with the admin approval process firsthand. Dealing with the pressure of deadlines and the added approval process causes students stress that may have been avoidable. The current policy is not at all clear about what can and can't be said, leading to issues where clarity would have been beneficial for all involved in the process. However, our revised policy offers definitions that resolve this issue by specifying that student publications are student-driven, while still having administration oversight, providing opportunities for students to learn and gain experience in a way that grows skills and has a real impact in a controlled environment. The policy also specifies the role of a journalism advisor, offering clarity that allows for issues to be resolved smoothly. I respectfully ask for your approval of these revisions to help streamline the approval process and support student development. Thank you all so much for your time and consideration, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Andrew Ashby and Madeline Bailey.
Hi, my name is Andrew Ashby, and I'm here to talk about Section 2 of our Policy 4.51. I've been a member of our newspaper, The Torch, for 3 years now, and it's allowed me to discover and develop my love for writing. I get the opportunity to work alongside many other dedicated writers, and over the years, The Torch has become something very special to me. Section 2 of our policy outlines the principal's role in the editorial process, the sort of content they can remove, and our ability to appeal content decisions. Under our revised policy, our principal retains full editorial control of any content any content that's removed must be in conflict with the pedagogical interests of the school. For example, student well-being and safety, which is in our best interest as well. This gives us both us and admin guidelines to follow, ensuring we all understand the rules our publication needs to follow. In the event of a dispute, we students are given the chance to appeal a content decision. This allows us the chance to work with our administrators to ensure that what gets published is the best possible product. These changes are significant steps towards helping student journalists all across the county. And so we're so grateful for this opportunity to get to speak today. Thank you. Thank all of you for your support.
Thank you.
Madeline Bailey and Henry Umofio.
Hello. Thank you for allowing us to speak today. My name is Madeline Bailey. I'm a junior at Pineview and one of the co-news editors for The Torch. I'm here today to speak in regards to Agenda Item 10.2 in respect to Policy Revision 4.51. Many of the issues we have faced while creating our journalism publications are a result of the lack of outline guidelines we have on what we can and cannot publish. Section 2 of our policy outlines the guidelines we will follow when publishing. This section details exactly what we can publish, which the current policy does not, and takes away the nebulous aspects of drafting and administrative approval we have dealt with for years. It specifies that we cannot publish content that is libelous, slanderous, defamatory, discriminatory, or harassing, and content that will cause a substantial disruption to school activities, among others. Essentially, our policy is written to specifically protect the rights of our intended audience as they read our newspaper and ensure the well-being of all involved. These guidelines help us in our drafting processes as well. They provide us with specific written laws which prevent lengthy review processes and administrative confusion. We want to ensure that our publication process is clear so that we can learn and teach others how to work on a publication. This will reflect publication policies in the professional realm of journalism, which we're preparing for, and it will help us all learn better and communicate with our administrators, which is what we want. We want to have and build good relationships with our administrators. We hope that you will approve our policy today and take a step towards the protection of our publication and the future of American journalism. Thank you.
Thank you.
Henry Umofio and Timothy Nasaralis.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Henry Mufio, and as the Assistant Business Manager of the Pineview Yearbook, I'm here to represent the yearbook staff on the policy 4.51. The yearbook has always had a special place in my heart. Although it's physically just a book, the stories and memories it embodies are a priceless memento of each school year. Working on the yearbook is a great opportunity for students to grow their skills and express their voices, a right that should be protected and expanded to empower these young writers. Yearbook staff face multiple submission deadlines where we have to submit content periodically for review. Anything going wrong, such as a hurricane or review delay, puts us on a very tight and strenuous schedule. Within this time-sensitive workplace, the lack of clear guidelines causes student journalists to have great uncertainty with what they can write, which causes extreme stress and delays due to rewriting. Policy 4.51 will give us a clear set of guidelines that we can follow to keep our publications the best they can be and help prevent delays. Similar policies to 4.51 within the New Voices movement have already been passed in 18 state legislatures and presented to 8 others. Florida is one of many states that are actively campaigning to provide freedom of press to student journalists. Policy 4.51 will provide guidelines that allow student journalists to report on the truth without as much concern on repercussions. We, the student journalists of Sarasota County, aren't the only ones reaching out. There's a national movement spurred by the need for First Amendment rights currently present in student press. The clear guidelines that Policy 4.51 will institute will help student journalists by allowing them to focus less on whether they may face repercussions or setbacks and more work. Because at the end of the day, focused journalists are better journalists, and better journalists don't just create a better product. They learn more and further better themselves for their future careers. Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Timothy Nasaralis and Michelle Posey.
Hello once again, school board. As members of New Voices Pineview and as members of the staff at Pineview's newspaper and yearbook, we'd like to extend our sincerest gratitude to the members of the Sarasota County School Board for working with us so diligently for months to get our policy ready for agenda. This policy, although no longer in its original form, still adds a clear pathway for student journalists to see a clear feedback regarding editorial control from the principal, but also the ability to appeal decisions through the appropriate channels, an amazing step in the right direction for all student publications, whether it's newspaper, broadcast, or yearbooks. Our biggest hope from the past few months is to inspire other schools across Sarasota County to invest more in student journalism and keep students engaged in the world around them. Our policy should hopefully make this process more streamlined. We also hope it shows students across the country that when you have a mission, a goal, or not the country, county, that when you have a mission, a goal, an objective with the intention to help the people around you, get your group together and start that process today. We look forward to working with you all again, individually or collectively in the future through our student journalistic efforts and implore you to pass the revision of Policy 4.51. Have a great day and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Michelle Posey and Robin Williams.
Good morning. I'm going to read something. It's regarding prayer as we open the meeting, and I'm just going to let everybody know so they can get their feelings ready. We, the people of the state of Florida, being grateful to Almighty God for our constitutional liberty in order to secure its benefits, perfect our government, ensure domestic tranquility, maintain public order, and guarantee equal civil and political rights due all to ordain and establish this Constitution. We all live in this beautiful free state of Florida. We could choose not to, but that is the preamble to our Florida Constitution. So anybody standing here telling you that we have separation of church and state needs to go back to our very own public schools that they claim that they support, because you don't have separation of church and state. Historically, you have freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. I am 100% behind having a time to reflect and give God his due diligence here in this boardroom so our children here in this community can prosper. And I'll tell you, a lot of these same people I love that are active in this community were at our delegation meeting, our legislative delegation meeting. We all survived when they led in prayer. So I adore the fact that you're doing this. As far as meeting times, I've said before, for me personally, I don't have an opinion either way, but I would like to say that we have a great attendance at these 10 a.m. meetings. I don't know how you make the call for 6 p.m. when this is the largest audience I've seen in the last 3 months for meetings at 6 p.m. So I will say the school board, the hospital board and the county commission do meet during the day. Our students use the hospital. Our students drive on the roads that the county commission enact policies for. So it does say something that they conduct business during the day. I would like to say we do have opportunities such as town halls where we actually get to dialogue back and forth. I get to say something, you get to respond. That doesn't happen in this environment. We have coffee with the superintendent. Those are largely not attended. So everybody here who would like that opportunity, those are in the evening. That's an opportunity to really get to dialogue with you. I don't know why those are lowly attended if that's the cry here is to move to evenings. With regard to leadership, Robin, I would like to thank you for your staunch leadership. You've kept order in the boardroom, and I've appreciated everything you do. I support whatever you do going forward. I would like to ask that there just be one person on the board that doesn't get the gavel, and that is the person who looked for ways to break the law early on in his his first term. He forced masks onto kids' faces that are not his, and he cost this district thousands of dollars by being derelict of his duties in the process, and that is Tom Edwards. I think that would be a demise to this district to allow him to have the gavel. But beyond that, thank you. God bless you guys, and I appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
Robin Williams and Bill Neese.
Our founding fathers weren't comfortable with the opening of deliberative public bodies with prayer. And if it's become embedded in some places, it was despite, not because of them. Thomas Jefferson, citing the Establishment Clause, thought it built, quote, a wall of separation between church and state. The Treaty of Tripoli was presented to the Senate by John Adams and was unanimously ratified. It included Article 11, saying the U.S. is in no way founded on the Christian religion. U.S. District Judge Bernal's recent decision about prayers at public meetings is extremely relevant. Quote, this court is not persuaded that the Supreme Court has overturned its line of school prayer cases. He refused to allow clergy to recite devotional messages at meetings of the Chino Valley Unified School District. As a Jew, I personally won't feel comfortable being subjected to coercive religious messaging and practices like bowing heads. Jews don't do that. We'll be singled out if we're a few in the crowd chambers that don't. I was at the Sarasota legislative delegation meeting last week, and Representative McFarland said, quote, we should pray over this event, and asked Representative Nix to lead it. He said, yeah, please bow our heads. He started with Heavenly Father and ended with his prayer with, and bless the people we serve in Jesus' name. Only Christians pray to Jesus. Your proposed mechanism for a diverse group of individuals and assemblies is fundamentally flawed. When it comes to different religions, unless you write the name of each rabbi, imam, Sikh, Hindu, Buddhist, spiritual leader multiple times, you'll never have a lottery system with equal or close odds. The number of Christian clergy is an order of magnitude or two greater than the religious leaders of other faiths. By not endorsing, approving, or disproving the content of any invocation, someone can deliver bigoted, hateful remarks with legitimacy. It also doesn't appear that your proposed mechanism for whose name can be entered in the lottery will screen out individuals who've made prior prejudiced remarks. In Manatee County, the head of the Manatee Patriots was allowed to deliver an invocation at their school board meeting in 2020. This was not long after he posted some very upsetting anti-Semitic comments on Facebook referring to Judaism. He said, every false religion has a demon as its source. If as stated, the purpose of the invocation is to assist board members in setting their minds to a higher purpose and to ease their task of governing the school district, perhaps the public would be better served if the board members took a moment or two before the start of the school board meeting for private personal reflection or praying, rather than subjecting everyone in attendance to a prayer or invocation that may leave them feeling uncomfortable or isolated. Tom Edwards for board chair, Liz Barker for vice chair, 2 meetings per month, 1 at 6 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Neese and Barbara Vaughn.
My name is Bill Neese. I'm a resident and have grandchildren in our school district. I've attended these meetings for quite a number of years, and over those years, I've noticed and observed the crowds aren't any bigger or smaller than this. And strangely enough, in those times, the issues were quite a bit different what we're facing now, but people were quite able to come to those 6 o'clock meetings, but I noticed number of students and teachers at them were not necessarily any more or less than they are now. In fact, many times teachers hardly ever showed up. And so the issues are the issues being heard? I believe the forums that you operate in our school district to hear people are adequate and they give as much input as necessary to make good decisions. Those decisions related to our evening meetings or coffees with the superintendent are all excellent places to express those opinions, and never has anyone ever been shut out from communicating with individual board members. So I advocate 10 o'clock, stay with it, I'm for it. So that's my 2 cents on that. As it relates to this issue of prayer or a moment of meditation before our school board, I'm actually for it. There's nothing that we have processed through on a legal standpoint that is not in line with the law. As far as the separation of church and state, if anybody has a decent history lesson, they know that there is no such thing in the Constitution. That is irrelevant to the Constitution. That was a statement by Thomas Jefferson, whether they would engage with a dispute within a particular denomination, whether the government would step in. He said, no, we can't step in and have dispute over a particular denomination's policies within their own denomination. So we're not going to get involved in that. That's what that was about. So that's just, probably most of you know that. Maybe some of you don't. As far as prayer in general, I've been a board member of the Sarasota Ministerial Association, which includes Jewish people, Christian people, people of various persuasions. We seem to be able to manage a prayer there with no offense. I've sat on the board with Jewish members for many years, count them as dear friends, rabbis in our community. And ours is to see how we can come together. And through that, we have a simple humility to say,
Thank you.
Barbara Vaughn and J.T. Pryor.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Vaughn. Most of you know me. I rarely miss a board meeting. I came here today to talk about 10.3, the invocation. When I went and searched online, I was absolutely gobsmacked to find that it took 2.5 pages to cover 2 minutes at the beginning of a board meeting. I guess you're having to cover all the exigencies that this rabble-rousing group is going to bring forward to you. Anyway, I'm now going to speak on 6.1 as well because I think I have the solution to both issues. If you remember Ben Franklin and the long sessions to develop, to write, to prepare our Constitution, when they would come to impasse, Benjamin Franklin would stand up and say, I think we need to pray. And he didn't mean for 2 minutes, he meant for 2 hours, sometimes 4 hours. So let's start the board meeting at 10 o'clock and have 2 hours of prayer. And then everybody can show up at noontime, which means some of the kids maybe would already be out of school. The other thing I get just beside myself about is the number of people in this room who come to this microphone and speak on issues they know nothing about. They don't know the law. Bill Neese just tried to take you through it. The separation of church and state was written in a letter by Thomas Jefferson to the Bainbridge Baptist Church to reassure the churches that the government was not going to come in and take over the churches. It's not in the Constitution. I don't think was ever considered to be in the Constitution. But if you can find it in the Constitution, bring it to me and show me. I'll pay off your mortgage. And that's a promise. I've heard at least two people up here today, talk about interacting with the school board. They've been very complimentary. It seems to me that the students know how to reach you when they want to, when they're not just making a show of it. Another thing I've been curious about is people who stand here and say they speak for vast groups.
Thank you.
J.T. Pryor and Reverend Lily Brock.
Good morning. I'm JT Pryor. I am a progressive Christian pastor in our community. Before I speak about what I really wanted to talk about today, I did want to touch on 10.3. I did speak last meeting about this. As a spiritual leader, I set aside time for religious expression on a regular basis, but my religious expression does not need to be done in a local government context to make it valid. Last meeting, there was wonderful public comment saying that if the goal is to allow board members to center or the room to center, then why don't we read the mission and vision of Sarasota County Schools? That could set us all together on what our goal is in this moment. I thought it was a wonderful compromise, and I'm sad to see that it didn't make the policy, or maybe a moment of silence. So it tells me that maybe we're not really interested in listening to our constituents, which leads me into my next point, that while we focus on religious expression in school board meetings, it takes our focus off issues such as the proposed schedule of school board meetings as outlined in agenda item 6.1. Now, 2 meetings in a row, we have seen and heard student speakers who are missing valuable instruction time because they want to have an audience in front of this board. They have to leave. Maybe they're having unexcused absences to come and speak to you, when really they could just come at 6 o'clock, or better yet, we could add back another board meeting like we had about a year ago where we had 2 board meetings. And even if there was a reason maybe that there's a 10 o'clock meeting, maybe there's something I don't know, maybe there's something this school board and needs to communicate to us, maybe we can have a compromise to where we have 1 at 10, 1 at 6, or 1 at 10 and 1 at 3, and we can alternate. Right now, as funding cuts happen with more frequency and parasitic for-profit charter schools try to co-locate in our excellent schools, and we work through the many attacks on public schools, we will need as much time as a community together. Not us yelling at you or you yelling at us, but finding ways for us to collaborate and protect our students from politics and political agendas. This way of adding back another school board meeting, or maybe alternating between 10 and 6, the ones who are most affected by these policies have an opportunity to be in conversation with you. They want to be in conversation. They want to be part of the solution. Now, if that is, in fact, what you are trying to do, and if you are all still true to your campaign promises, you would protect public comment in this way. But I guess your vote will tell me exactly what you think about public comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reverend Lily Brock and Rana Bizzini.
Good morning. My name is Lily Brock, and I'm the senior pastor of a progressive Christian church here in Sarasota. But perhaps more importantly today, I am a registered voter. I'd like to speak to you about 10.3, religious expression, and 6.1, school board meeting times. As a citizen in a democratic society, I've known since I was in high school that a primary tenet of democracy is the notion of equal access. Equal access to vote, equal access to participate in a democratic process, which usually includes conversation and public servants listening to their constituents. Equal access to religious freedom, equal access to education. So when I see 2 agenda items today that aim to limit equal access, the message at least some of you are sending is that at the very least, you don't much value equal access, and at most, you absolutely intend to limit equal access. In my view, you have been asked ad nauseum to set your meetings at times that allow for equal access. So please vote to add another meeting at 6 p.m. on Tuesday evenings and prove to us that you care about equal access. Also, in my view, you have been given 2 very good solutions for ways to begin these meetings that ensure equal access to those who are religious and those who are not. As a faith leader, It seems to me if I can acknowledge that those who are not religious should be able to access that freedom as much as I want to access mine, then surely you can too. So offer a moment of silence or read the mission of this body together. These offer equal access, though there's no reason to vote otherwise unless you really don't want equal access to exist. Truthfully, these two decisions are easy, and the solutions have actually come from your constituents. If you find this hard, then you've also sent the message that when it comes to something harder, like schools of hope that will systematically eat away at true public education, you will continue to limit our access to you, to the truth, and to the survival of public education. We want equal access. We hope your votes tell us that you want it too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rana Bazzini and Jodani Delrose Salio.
Good morning. My name is Rana Bazzini, and I am a resident of Sarasota. I wish to speak on agenda item 6.1, school board meetings. But first, I would like to thank Superintendent Connor, the staff, for working 24/7 to put together a very important plan, and the board for approving of that plan. Also, I'd like to give thanks to Carol Lerner, who has done incredible research on the Schools for Hope and showing that that threat is not going to go away. I paraphrase Ben Franklin, you have a public school system if you can keep it. I will be entering my 10th year of attending school board meetings, having missed only one. Until recently, there were 2 meetings a month at 6 o'clock, a few at 3, and I honestly don't remember any morning meetings. Ms. Rose has said she listens to her constituents. I believe her. Perhaps she listens, but doesn't pay attention. There was a little bit disingenuous, and she's not the only one who made this comment about the 10 o'clock meeting and how fully it was attended, and that was an affirmation of the change when it was clearly a protest. I admit at 92, I'm barely awake at 10 o'clock, but I am still an avid supporter of public education, and I really want to continue to attend the school board meetings. I do remember our founders expressed that the educated population was important for our democracy to survive. I'm not as active as I used to be, and I kind of have a feeling that I've joined the ranks of Renegade, Alberta Gator, Rocky Bull, the Panther, and the Owl. I'm beginning to feel like a mascot for the school board meetings. And it would be sad not to have the mascot show up at school board meetings. So please go back to 6 o'clock, or at least adopt one of the compromises suggested by Ms. Barker, Mr. Edwards, or other people speaking today. And now I'd just like to throw this aside. I am a non-believer, and I find myself and Barbara Vaughn have been able to find a really nice relationship. We probably agree on nothing, but we still can be civil to one another. And I appreciate the laugh she gave the board this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jodani Delrose Salio and Kennedy Cole.
Good evening. Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning. My name is Jolani, and I'm a proud Booker High School student, and I'm here to speak on Agenda Item 6.1, the proposal to move school board meetings from 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. I'll be honest with you, I'm tired. Students are tired. We are tired of our voices being treated like background noise, and this proposal It feels like one more way to turn down the volume on the people who are living the impact of your decisions. Let's be real. A 10 a.m. meeting is not more convenient, it's not more efficient. It is simply a time when students cannot be here, and I think everyone in this room knows that. At 10 a.m., we're in class. At 10 a.m., we're learning. At 10 a.m., we're doing exactly what the school system asks us to do. So to be told that the only way we can speak is by skipping the very education you're supposed to protect, that's not just ironic, that's embarrassing. And here's the part that really gets me. You were elected to hear us. Well, some of you were elected. And yet you're excluding us. How does that make sense? You say you care about student voices. You put it in mission statements, posters, speeches, brochures. But when you move meetings to a time when we physically cannot attend, it sends a different message. And trust me, students know how to read between the lines. So I'll ask again what I asked myself when I read this agenda item. What kind of school board do you want to be? The board that talks about students in empty rooms, or the board that talks with us, even when what we have to say isn't comfortable? Because right now, the pattern is hard to ignore. 2 meetings a month at 6 p.m. became 1 meeting a month at 6 p.m. And now the only time we still have, you want to move it to 10 a.m. Every change has one thing in common. Students get pushed further out of the room. You can call it scheduling, you can call it restructuring, but students call it what it really is, silencing. We shouldn't have to choose between our education and our right to be heard. No student should have to fall behind in class just to get 3 minutes at this microphone. If you pass this, you're not making meetings more accessible. You're just making them more comfortable for yourselves. Students deserve better than decisions made behind our backs, at times set without us in mind, and in rooms we can't physically enter. So I'm asking you to prove us wrong, to prove that student voice is more than a slogan. Keep meetings at a time we can actually show up. Show us that you want to work with us, not around us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kennedy Cole and Jordana Osceola.
Good morning. My name is Kennedy Cole, and I'm a junior at Booker High School, and I'm here today to speak in opposition to Agenda Item 6.1, the moving of school board meetings for the next year to once a month at 10 a.m. This morning, I woke up like I do on any regular day. I got dressed, brushed my teeth, and I got to school the same time I always do, 7 a.m. I walked through Open Gate the same way I always do. I said hi to my teachers the same way I always do. And then I took a test the same way I always do. I wouldn't have rather taken that, but I had to. But after the test, I did something I typically don't do. I left school, drove down here, and I came to this board meeting. I want to keep it real simple. I'd rather be at school. It's not that I don't love you all, I really do, but I'd rather be around some of the incredible teachers I get to see every single day at Booker High. Some of the classes I'm missing today, ACE English Language, taught by a linguist with a doctorate, Miss Simon, who's teaching us the evolution of the English language over centuries. I'm missing ACE US History, ironically enough, taught by a certified historian, Miss Hoover. I would rather learn from them and grow as a student, but instead, I'm here advocating for the rights of my fellow students. Policy 6.1 will make the schedule I mentioned a moment ago my new monthly tradition. It means that once a month for the next year, I have to say, sorry, Dr. Shelley, no third, fourth, or fifth period for me. I've got to go fight for my education. Believe me, I'd rather be in school. There is another option, though, an option that just a year ago wouldn't be so far-fetched. 2 meetings a month, one at 10 a.m. and one at 6 p.m., allowing everyone, every citizen to be heard. That isn't radical, that isn't crazy. It's called a compromise. To finish, I ask that you all do one of 2 things. 1, listen to almost every constituent that's spoken here today and change to 2 meetings a month at alternating times and allowing all to be heard. Or 2, at least give me and my other students an absence excuse note, because no matter what, you will not stop and you will never stop Sarasota students from advocating for our public education. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jordana Osceola and Bill Van Allen.
Good morning, board members and fellow attendees. My name is Jordana Osceola. I'm a mom of 3 Wilkinson students, co-chair of the SAC committee, founder of Wilkinson Parents Group and SRQ Parents United. As a Sarasota mom, first, before I say that, I'd like to say thank you for all the hard work, because I did not get to speak last meeting. Thank you for all your hard work for the strategic initiative that you've put forward to improve our schools. We all share the same goal, to create the best possible educational environment for our children. As we consider new traditions, such as introducing prayer, let's ensure that we remain inclusive of all beliefs. A moment of silence can achieve that while keeping our focus on what truly matters, supporting our children. Right now, Wilkinson is facing some real challenges. Due to this board, we've lost several teachers. Our nurse is currently a substitute, and with a retiring principal, we need stability for our children as soon as possible. We are eager to work together with you again to find solutions that ensure that our students feel secure and supported by the new year. To foster that collaboration, I'd like to invite all of the board members to join us at Wilkinson for our turkey trot this Friday, so you can see what the amazing STEM program is all about. We'll even have a Miccosukee booth to educate on Florida history and Florida native tribes. It will be a wonderful opportunity for you to engage with our families and see firsthand the community spirit that makes our school so special. In closing, I look forward to working together to ensure that all families have a voice. By adding an evening meeting each month alongside with a morning one, we can make sure that working parents, teachers, students can all participate. We can find a common ground where together we can build a more inclusive and supportive environment for our children. Thank you so much also for considering the fire truck as a firefighter family member. That saves lives in our community. So thank you so much for your time, for your commitment to our students, to our families, and to our community, and excited about what we can work together as parents and board members. Thank you, Tom, Liz, Robin, all of you listened. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to working together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bill Van Allen and William Dobro.
Good morning, school board members, Superintendent Connor. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Bill Van Allen. It is Van Allen, not Van Halen, although it does sound like that. I'm here to speak on Agenda 10.3. I'd like you to all think back over your lives when something went unexpectedly right for you, when it would have been disastrous had it gone wrong. You might have known how bad it could have been, or you might only have found out later. That's what our founders called divine providence, and they relied on it in laying down the rules for creating a unique nation that allowed ordinary people to decide for themselves the best course for their lives. As John Adams put it, our Constitution was made only for moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other. And we've heard a couple of misrepresentations, and one of which is the separation of church and state. That was actually indicated that they did not want America to be a nation in which the government was aligned with a particular religion, because they escaped governmental tyranny in the name of God in England to come to America. I've experienced divine intervention a couple of times at least, and the ones I like to reference are losing our brakes, my band losing our brakes at the top of a 10,000-foot pass in the Wyoming Rockies while stopped for construction. And getting the scarce type of blood I needed while being hospitalized for cancer the night after my doctor told me I had to have a transfusion or I would die. In one case, I knew how bad it could be if things went wrong. In the other, we had no idea what lay ahead on the way down the mountain. For people in government service, it is tempting to imagine they have more power than they really do have. Leaders have the power to destroy more than the power to create. They can't make peace as easily as they can start wars. To acknowledge a higher power will remind all of us here of our purpose. Indeed, it would be arrogant not to ask for the help of divine providence in carrying out your service by starting your meetings with a short invocation. Another misrepresentation, it's a conflation of starting a meeting with an invocation and prayer in schools. It's two different things. An invocation can be something simple, like, Lord, we thank you for the chance to gather today to improve the lives and future fortunes of the children in our care. We ask your guidance and the will to follow it in teaching them how to use the opportunities, the exceptional opportunities in life that America offers each of them to prosper and pursue happiness. Amen. It may also foster a more...
Thank you.
The last speaker is William Dobro.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Connor and board members. I'd like to start by apologizing to Karen for all the vitriol again that you had to put up with, and appreciate all the hard work you do, all the board members do. Let's see here. Congratulations on what you guys got on your plate and how you're moving forward with it. It's a bunch, and it's commendable. It's big work. Let's see. 6-1. We spent the last 2 hours, probably like 90% of it, debating about the time of the school board meetings and how it interferes with the business of the board or whatever. If we could just understand that the school board sets meeting time, and that's what it is. If you can make it, you make it. If you don't, you come to coffee with Superintendent Connor, Town Hall. You can interact with them, get your questions answered, speak with them then. That's what it is. Deal with it. The prayer and the invocation is, it's not a bad idea. I think we need more seeking of a higher power to guide us in what we do. Anybody who objects or finds the word God offensive, it's on these. And if you want to come up here and give these to me or catch me outside, if you find this word God so offensive, I'll be happy to take them. So, you got a bunch going on, and I'd like to offer my assistance in a voluntary advisory position for anything you might need help with. I don't know what the policy is for that, but I got a little extra time, particularly with the elementary schools. I find these kids are the most in need of guidance, and if I could help out with curriculum development or anything that would help these kids out, that would be great. I think that's what we're all here for. That's what I'm here for. So thanks again. Appreciate what you're doing, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. This ends public comment on the agenda. So I will now transfer the gavel to the superintendent in order to proceed with the board reorganization. There you go.
Florida law requires school boards to reorganize every November. This process involves electing a new chair, and in Sarasota County, we also elect a vice chair. The superintendent will conduct these elections as required by law, and before we begin, let me explain the process and parameters for this election. Any board member may nominate anyone else on the board, including themselves. All 5 of you are eligible to serve as chair or vice chair. A nomination does not need or require a second. When I ask for nominations, you will please raise your hand and state the name of the person you wish to nominate. You may share a brief statement about your nominee if you wish, but that is not required. If only one person is nominated, that individual will be elected by acclamation. If more than one person is nominated, we will proceed with a vote by ballot. Each board member's ballot will include their name and the name of the nominee that they're voting for. The ballots are considered public record, and the results, including each member's vote, will be read aloud and recorded. With that explanation, I will now begin the election process for chair. Please raise your hand if you would like to nominate someone for chair. Ms. Rose.
Thank you, Superintendent Connor. I would like to nominate Mrs. Bridget Ziegler for chair.
We have one nomination for Ms. Ziegler. Any other nominations for chair? Since we have one nomination, I will declare Ms. Ziegler elected as chair by acclamation. Congratulations. All right, we will now proceed for the election of vice chair. Please raise your hand if you'd like to make a nomination for vice chair. Ms. Ziegler.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Mrs. Robin Marinelli for vice chair.
We have one nomination for Robin Marinelli. Any other nominations? Ms. Barker.
Again, I'll nominate Mr. Edwards for vice chair. I've said this repeatedly, but I think that many boards rotate the responsibility of leadership, and that takes a lot of the politics out of it. I think that makes perfect sense. And it really does model the sort of cooperative, respectful dialogue that we want our students to display. So again, I'll nominate Mr. Edwards for vice chair.
Thank you. We have a nomination for Mr. Edwards. Any other nominations? At this time, I'll ask you to please fill out your ballot with your name and the nominee that you're voting for. Ms. Tompkins will come around and collect those. All right, in no particular order, Ms. Barker has voted for Mr. Edwards. Ms. Rose has voted for Ms. Marinelli. Ms. Marinelli has voted for Ms. Marinelli. Mr. Edwards have voted for Mr. Edwards, and Ms. Ziegler for Ms. Marinelli. So that is 3 votes for Ms. Marinelli and 2 for Mr. Edwards. So congratulations, Ms. Marinelli, you will be elected as vice chair. Thank you for everyone participating in the reorganization meeting. I look forward to working with you, and this will conclude the reorganization portion of the meeting. We will now proceed with a 10-minute recess just to adjust chairs and the computers.
Oh, thank you. We'll get started in 2 minutes. All right, we're going to get started here. I think Mr. Edwards had to depart early, but we will continue moving along. Now we will move to item 6.1, that the Sarasota School Board approve the 2026 regular school board meeting dates with a start time of 10 a.m. As listed, it's January 20th, February 17th, March 24th, April 21st, May 19th, June 16th, July 21st, August 18th, September 15th, October 20th, November 17th, and December 15th. Is there a motion to adopt the regular scheduled meeting for 2026? No worries.
I move for approval of the 2026 regular school board meeting dates.
I have a motion by Ms. Rose. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second on item 6.1. Are there any comments?
I'm sorry, just to clarify, that's as presented?
As presented, yes. I'll reread it once it's adopted, if and when it's adopted, I should say. Are there any comments? Mrs. Barker?
Thank you. I think we heard from the community, from many people, that they would like teachers and students to be available to attend these meetings. And so I won't rehash those points, but I would like to bring to your attention some conversations that I have had with parents who have said it, and I do not believe this was the intent. So let me be very clear. I do not believe this was the intent, but there is a perception that perhaps this board is less interested in hearing from parents who have to work 9 to 5 and who don't have the luxury of having a stay-at-home parent or don't have a flexible work schedule, and they like the opportunity to be heard. So I'm asking for a very small concession, just that we would rotate between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. every other month. It's a very small number of meetings, and I would point out to you also that our September meeting is already, we have a budget meeting at 5 o'clock. I'm not sure it makes sense for us to come in at 10 and then come back at 5. So, I understand that you all are working to what's best for all of us, but I would ask for a small concession that has the potential to make a big impact for parents.
Thank you, Mrs. Barker. Are there any more comments? Mrs. Marinelli.
Thank you. The one thing I noticed in a lot of these comments was that it was a collaboration. These business meetings are a one-way conversation. So we cannot even address you back with anything. This is a business meeting. So with that being said, with us having the coffees with Connor, or we're going to have the evening town hall meetings, that is a time for everybody to come. It's at 6 o'clock. So having a board business meeting at 10 really is not a collaboration. It's a one-way conversation. And it is, excuse me, I gotta say this. You say you wanna work with us, but anytime any of us say something that you don't like, you make comments, you make noises, and that's on you. So if you want to have collaboration, then I think you should show a little bit respect. Because you say you want to have respect, you earn it. And I can tell you, with all the comments that you make, that does not make me want to feel very collaborative with you. This is a one-way. So if you want to come and talk to us and really talk to us, come to the town hall meetings that will be scheduled. And if they're once a month, they're once a month or every other. So that is your compromise. Because if you want true collaboration, the last time I looked it up, that's a two-way conversation, not one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Marinelli. I have some comments. I think that, you know, where I stand, and I believe this is the intent of everyone, wanting to ensure we do have the opportunity to have public input so that there's engagement and awareness. I can promise you, as a working parent, I understand that there are challenges at the end of the day, there are challenges during the day, and I do have conversations with many people who have dual working families, and which is the majority of people in this community, in this country, quite frankly. And so I don't take that lightly. However, I again go back to what has worked, what's best practices, and what I've experienced as a board member. I did actually do the research as well and look at other boards across the state. And while there is a majority that are around 4 to 6 p.m., I don't necessarily look to them per se as being the leaders in a lot of different areas, and so I wouldn't start with the time that they're utilizing their public meeting. The other thing about moving to 2 times, which is what we've had done before, the challenge I foresee, and this is that what's on which agenda all of a sudden will be, oh, the 10 o'clock agenda, oh, they're trying to slip it through because it's on 10 o'clock and not 6 o'clock where people can come. There's no win, and I mean that it is something that I've taken very seriously to ensure transparency, to ensure that there's public access, whether it be on demand, coming here, making sure that you have the opportunity. We don't have a limit on time when it comes to public comment. Most boards do. I know when I heavily objected to the tactics that were utilized, different board, of course, but many may recall during post-COVID era, if you will, these chambers were packed with families, with parents whose children were going to our schools and were very concerned about some of the processes and policies that were being considered. And the disdain for the public was such a matter that they would adjourn the meeting and then they would allow public comment. I'm looking at some of you because I know you participated. They would even put the camera on the back of public comment, the public's head. So to me, I think we have to just consider where we've come from. I don't ever want to go back there, and I want to be very clear. I'm glad everyone was able to come, and I actually love seeing people who've come over some time who've become incredible public speakers, by the way. But at the same time, I don't have the exact number, but if I were to go back to the last 6 meetings, since we've gone, maybe even a little bit more than that, since we went to 1 meeting, because I was a little hesitant going to 1 meeting. I wanted to make sure that we were going to be operating efficiently, but not going to restrict public comment, because I do take that very seriously. And I have seen us be able to operate very successfully. We're seeing incredible achievements with the leadership that we have, and have been able to expand upon different avenues in which we can engage the public, which over a number of speakers here have articulated, that actually was what allowed us to come to collaborative working opportunities or different solutions that when it came to our new re-envisioning, if I'm going to mess up the name of it, what you called it, but when it came to our K-8 schools and looking at Wilkinson, those were not they were not in the board chambers. Those were when we went out to those community meetings, and that is what I look forward to continuing to see, because I think that works better, because as people have noted, those town halls, someone says something, it's very hard when we get very impassioned speeches here or comments, and you just have to sit and wait, and there's a reason, because that it erodes decorum if you have back and forth. But those town halls do give us a little bit of a different environment, and it allows for that public comment to come back. We're able to go to the community specifically that we're probably likely going to be impacting the most, especially when we're talking about redistricting or changing our, reimagining our schools. So I want to see that continue. And the final piece is that I think is relevant is, again, if you go back to the issues of which we've heard overwhelming on the public comment piece over the last, let's say, 6 to 8 months, most of it is on public comment or the meeting, not on any agenda item that, I mean, there are some, and I don't want to say disregard it, but a vast majority is just merely the fact of our frequency or time, not about any substantive item that we're coming forward to take action on. And I think that's important to note because, you know, if that's the majority issue, yet there are a number of other business items that you'll see on our agenda aren't rising to the top of what you want to talk about, then what are we cutting off? So I am supportive of this agenda as it stands, with the flexibility, as we noted in the last meeting, of leaving those markers of having some flexibility. If we need to add an additional meeting, the superintendent will let us know if there are certain items that we do need, or if there's an incident that as a board we want to do a special meeting or what have you. We do have that flexibility, and I think utilizing that time schedule that we have already have listed out here is something that we can continue to move on, but it's not a formal meeting yet put on the calendar. I will make one more note that, because I take this seriously and I haven't verified it, but and perhaps it's staff being proactive by getting everything up, but I do take the piece of not posting something until we take an action as far as the meeting dates. So I appreciate that coming to our attention. That's not, I know that that's not the intent. I take this seriously. We're not here for ceremonial purposes. We have votes that are in front of us that we need to take action, and then we'll post them accordingly. So that I wanted to address that. But that is my comments going forward. I think that we will, Mrs. Rose, I'm sorry. Did you have a comment?
I do.
Go ahead. Yep.
Thank you very much. I'm understanding that it hasn't been publicly posted?
So in verifying this information, it is not on any of our public calendars. It is on the agenda item, but it is not publicly posted as if it was a perfunctory decision.
Thank you. That's important information, as well as, if I may.
Of course.
I have to say that, in all the years that I've been involved in school board meetings or had the opportunity to hear parents who may have had unresolved issues, I have to take this moment to give credit to Superintendent Connor and his team. I've said more than once in my home when I'm reading my emails that the parent issues are next to null as compared to what they have been in previous times. I'll just say that. And I do want to give that credit, as well as there was a time where we did have parents coming with an actual issue to the school board as a last-ditch effort, and that isn't happening anywhere near the rate. The comments here are a little what I would call in a different category than that. So I do want to commend you. It is absolutely a positive and reinforce that you're doing a spectacular job in meeting the needs of our families, and I thank you for that.
Thank you, Mrs. Rose, and thank you for that clarification, because I said I hadn't verified it, but I wanted to address it, so thank you for that. Are there any other comments, or can we close on the motion? All right, board members, please vote if you haven't already. I believe I did. And the motion passes with 3 yes and 1 opposition. And do you want me to read the dates again?
Why don't we announce them for the record?
Okay, for the record, that the motion has been adopted that the Sarasota County School Board approved the 2026 regular school board meeting dates as follows: January 20th, February 17th, March 24th, April 21st, May 19th, June 16th, July 1st, August 18th, September 15th, October 20th, November 17th, and December 15th, with a start time at 10 a.m. That motion has passed. Moving on to the next item. I'm going to use my cheat sheet here because I wasn't prepared. We need to move to the adjournment to the annual financing corporation meeting. Is that accurate? So may I have a motion to adjourn? May I have a motion to suspend the meeting to move into we already did the reorganizational. I apologize. May I have a motion to suspend the organizational meeting?
I move to suspend the reorganizational meeting.
Second.
A motion and a second. Without objection, we are adjourned and moving into the election of officers. May I have a motion to elect the president and secretary treasurer of the corporation?
I think we already addressed that.
What? Well, nope.
So are we moving to 7.1 now that we've?
Yeah, I think at this time we have adjourned the reorganizational meeting and we are now convening the annual meeting of finance corporations of the school board.
Correct. We're moving to the election of officers,
And
which has to be on the corporate. Correct. So we're at 6.3. May I have a motion to elect the president and secretary / treasurer of the corporation?
And just for the record, the president would be
Mr. Terry Connor.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nope.
Me, Bridget Ziegler, and then and then Terry Connor as secretary and treasurer.
So moved.
You could.
Second.
I have a motion that the board elect Bridget Ziegler as president of the corporation and Terry Connor as the secretary and treasurer. I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, may I have a vote? And this we can do on the computer? Okay. And the motion passes favorably with votes and 0 abstaining and opposed. Now, moving on to the adjournment of the annual financing corporation meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn the annual financing corporation meeting?
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, the annual meeting of the financing corporation is adjourned, and we will move back to. Do I have to do another adjournment?
Looks like we're voting on 6.1.
yes, yeah, so you suspended now you're adjourning it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
may I have, my goodness, I apologize. I was not planning on all of this, so.
A lot of convening
there's a lot of different pages. Okay, so we are now in the adjournment of the reorganizational meeting. We have a motion and a second on the table. Now you may vote to adjourn the reorganizational meeting. Am I correct? Is there a motion?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
The motion is second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, can you please vote at 6.5, which is about the adjournment of the reorganizational meeting? And the motion passes favorably. Moving on to item now. We're reconvening the regular board meeting and moving on to item 7.1. Is there a motion, which is the minutes?
I move to the approval of the minutes.
Second.
The motion is second. Are there any comments? Seeing none, please vote as it comes up on your screen. And the motion passes favorably 4-0. The Sarasota County School Board's minutes have been adopted. Moving on to 8.1, which is the consent agenda as amended. May I have a motion?
I move for approval of the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any comments? Mrs. Barker.
Thank you. I just real quickly wanted to point out, and I know this was a couple hours ago now, but the consent agenda today does include information about the school advisory committees, and I just wanted to put a plug out there for any parents who want to be a part of really finding out what goes on at schools, particularly financially, and how we support our students. I was a member of the SAC committee, and it's a wonderful opportunity, and we're always looking for parent participants there, so please do join us.
Thank you, Mrs. Barker. Are there any further comments on the consent agenda? Seeing none, please vote. And the motion passes favorably 4-0 on the consent agenda. Moving on to item on discussion agendas 10.1, Chapter 8 policies. Is there a motion?
10.1, I move for approval of revised school board policies, Chapter 8, Auxiliary Services, Policy 8.10, Safety, Policy 8.17, Emergency Disaster, Policy 8.19, Security Plan, Policy 8.23, Use of Unnamed Aerial Systems, Policy 8.24, Use of School District Security Cameras and Security Footage, Policy 8.52, Construction Change Orders, and Policy 8.80, Records Retention and Disposal.
Thank you. I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion, a second. Is there any comments on item 10.1? Seeing none, please vote. And the motion passes favorably with 4-0 that the Sarasota County School Board approved the revised policy in Chapter 8 as noted. Moving on to the next item, is there a motion? 10.2.
10.2, I move for approval of revised school board policies, Chapter 4, Curriculum and Instruction, Policy 4.22, Library and Media Center Management, Policy 4.24, Artificial Intelligence, Acceptable Use, Policy 4.40, Extracurricular Program, Policy 4.51, Student Publications, Policy 4.65, Virtual Instruction, Policy 4.115, Grade Forgiveness.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any comments? I'm going to make a quick comment. One, again, thank you to our Mr. Parento and team. I know there's a lot in here, but I do want to highlight the AI piece. I know this is being formally adopted. We had a comment, we had a workshop previously and really went through it, and I look forward to continuously staying on top of that. I will say I had the opportunity to do a workshop in DC around AI and education, and we are light years ahead, which is ironic because we feel like we're behind, but we are light years ahead when it comes to putting together a framework, having some components and safeguards, but also consistently evaluating what we are using and how we're using it. So I can assure you from one board member that I'll continue to bring it up, I'll continue to have conversations with the superintendent to make sure we're optimizing it, but also protecting our students and the integrity of their educational institution. So if there are no additional comments, members vote if you already did. And the motion passes favorably that Chapter 4 Curriculum and Instruction policies have been adopted. Moving on to item 10.3, is there a motion?
I move for approval of the new school board policy, Chapter 2, School Board Organization and Governance, Policy 2.223, Religious Expression at School Board Meetings.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Are there any comments? Mrs. Barker.
Thank you. I hear both sides of this, and frankly, I would rather be focusing on other things right now, but given that this is where we are, I will again propose a moment of silence as being a much easier solution, more efficient solution. And part of my concern is that even though I consider myself to be a person of faith, I'm very respectful of all the different faiths we have in our community. I understand that we are responsible for serving students of every background, of every belief structure. And it's important to me as one board member that we keep these chambers a welcoming place for our diverse community, and one that invites them to participate. And so I cannot support this policy as written, but I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you, Mrs. Barker. Are there any further comments? If not, I'll close very quickly. I appreciate all of the feedback from the community. I know there's many that weren't here today, but also had provided feedback to us as board members. And I believe that I'm confident that not only is this legally sound, and I think that's very important to cite because we are fiduciaries. I did my due diligence. I know our attorney has, and so we are in good standing there. But I also believe that this is a good moment for Sarasota County. I think that it'll certainly be executed with the fidelity to ensure that it is including everyone, but really sets the stage where we have a very meaningful start of our meeting. I think that for too long, it's been pushed to the side where faith should not be present. And I don't believe that's the right path forward. And I believe that many people in this community also support that. There are a number of school districts that have been able to execute this in a manner that is not a distraction. Actually, it elevates everything. And so I'm very much looking forward to this passage and its practice moving forward. So if there are no additional comments, and members, please vote. And the motion passes favorably with three yeses and one no, and the motion is passed. Sorry, let me get my notes together. Moving on to the next item. May I have a motion? Are we done?
That's it.
Can we have a motion? I know. So, okay, we'll move on to public comment. Bear with me one second. So we are moving on to the public comment. Mrs. Tompkins. Do we have any speakers?
The first speaker is Christy Carwatt, followed by Lisa Shore.
Good afternoon, Board and Mr. Connor, no longer morning. I want to take this time to thank Mr. Connor's staff and the board for being proactive in protecting Wilkinson and Suncoast Polytech High School. I was very pleased to see that the vote by the board was unanimous and that all voted to protect not only our public schools, but our tax dollars as well. As a former economics teacher, I remember teaching my students a state-approved curriculum, which included the fact that taxes were meant to provide public goods and services, not to fund private or for-profit goods and services. It's been a couple of years since I've been in the classroom, so I thought maybe the purpose of taxation had changed and what students are being taught in economics had been modified. Therefore, I decided to Google high school economics, why pay taxes? I found multiple sites with explanations and even lesson plans for teachers. Basically, they all said one thing, and that was that they all indicated that taxes are for funding public goods and services that benefit the community as a whole. I think some politicians, especially those in Tallahassee, perhaps some on this board even, need to revisit basic high school economics as they are misusing our tax dollars by helping to partially fund private schools, for-profit charter schools, and even trips to Disney World. We, the public, are not being fooled. We know what those in Tallahassee want and what some of this board want. We know that the many decisions made are not really about competition in school choice, but about the destruction of public education. So please, fight for the students you were elected, or in Ms. Rose's case, appointed to serve, not for a political agenda meant to undermine the very system you are supposed to be representing. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Lisa Shore and Jane Armstrong.
To comment on some statements that were made here. We seem to have some folks who think that they are the Lawrence Tribe, Professor Emeritus of Constitutional Law. The fact of the situation is there is a huge amount of case law on this issue. There's been a split between 4 of the circuit courts. 3 of them have ruled that the legislative exception rule that you like to push is not applicable. So we do run some risk of somebody making a challenge. So it's very important that we follow the policy as it's written. Mrs. Marinelli, this is a two-way street because we come up here and we comment and then you chastise us. So it's a two-way street, let's not kid ourselves. Just very briefly, I would like to make a request of the board with respect to the Schools of Hope. You've been very active in writing resolutions for various things. So I would like to make a request rather, that you pass a resolution stating that our district is diametrically opposed to the Schools of Hope legislation as it's currently drafted, particularly that the part that permits co-location in public schools. There's precedent for such a resolution as you did it for Title IX, so you can do it now. I would also ask that the board reassess legislative priorities and actively lobby. I know, Mrs. Barker, you've traveled to Tally. I'll be traveling to Tally as well. But we hire, I understand, lobbyists. So we need to have the rescission of the School of Hope rules. They need to disappear, and you need to get behind it because you serve the public. You serve public school students, not for-profit corporate charter operators. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Mrs. Tompkins.
Jane Armstrong and Jamie Barrett.
Is Mrs. Armstrong still here? Is Mrs. Barrett still here? Are there any further? Jamie Barrett? Oh, yep, that's you. It's your turn.
Hi, I'm Jamie Barrett. Since you decided to have one meeting a month, then let's compromise. I propose we have one town hall and one board meeting a month so that students, teachers, and parents and everyone has a chance to speak. I value public schools, and I know you do too. Voters overwhelmingly support public schools. 84% approve of the millage referendum. I'm concerned about Schools of Hope. It was snuck in and passed over the summer, so SOH can now legally come in and invade our school buildings. I don't think our representatives really knew it was in the bill since it had been rejected since 2017. I'm asking everyone to call our representatives to repeal the Schools of Hope legislation, pass the SB 424 bill to fix this disastrous plan. If we allow this for-profit schools into our facilities to coexist in our public school buildings, they will use our investment to lure in our students, parents, and teachers and make promises they can't sustain. I call this bait and switch. So let's be clear. They come into our schools, we taxpayers give them the space rent-free, then they take over the real estate, sell it back to themselves at a discounted rate, and then charge us taxpayer rent. Brilliant. They just legally robbed us. Once their investment runs out, they leave and not continue the programs they promised. We are then left to sustain programs without their funds. They leave, and then we are still paying them rent. We're not only back at the beginning, but in a worse mess than before, because as a result, teachers will be laid off, students will be displaced, schools will be shuttered or restructured. How do I know this? It's already been tried and failed miserably in Jefferson County. Why would we try this again? Because they can no longer cherry pick. They need to include all students, no matter their challenges.
Thank you.
Deb Hayes.
Good afternoon. I'm Deb Hayes, a public school advocate, asking you to amend your legislative agenda to join this community in asking the Florida legislature to repeal the Schools of Hope legislation that is threatening our district and others in the state. The district has already had letters of intent designed to take over 2 of our schools. Let me ask you, what do Side Middle and Emma E. Booker have in common? 1, they're high-achieving schools. 2, they're underfunded. 3, they have phenomenal students and teachers. 4, they have lots of spirit and pride. 5, they have historical legacies. And 6, they sit on prime real estate. How convenient for Schools of Hope operators to be able to come into a district with 1, varying degrees of student achievement. 2, funding beyond all comprehension. 3, no teachers, no students. 4, no community history or commitment. 5, exemption from most regulations of traditional schools and traditional public charter schools. And access to prime real estate. The School of Hope operator Academica, which has fronted 2 of its cookie-cutter charters to co-locate in Brookside and Emma. It's no coincidence that the CEO and his family are real estate developers. The community is watching this board. Please join us in asking for this grievous legislation to be repealed. Then we won't have to see our beautiful schools turned into profit centers for rich developers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Zaire Kekahuna Samudi and Tamara Solom.
Hi there, I'm Zaire Kekahuna Samdi, previous Sarasota County school student and a registered voter here in Sarasota. Part of me feels, and maybe this is just me riding the high from the school board meeting earlier this month, but part of me feels like we are somewhat getting closer to some form of collaboration between the board and the community, specifically with the Schools of Hope revision plan for the school district. After hearing your comments, Ms. Marinelli, it kind of gave me the impression that there are more than just 3 community town hall meetings proposed for the next school year. Hopefully that's the case. I personally think that town halls are a great forum. Just last night, I was at a Manatee County community meeting and I used Sarasota's community meetings as an example for what might be helpful to the Manatee County communities as well as they face their restricting and rezoning. So if it hasn't been discussed already, I personally would like to see more of those insight community meetings, more than just 3, because right now, like I mentioned in my previous public comment, at the first community meeting that I attended earlier this year, asked if there would be plans to have more than 3 and there weren't. So this is my request to you guys to add and implement more of those in the next year so that way we can have that back and forth communication between us and the board members. And you know, that's all I have for you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tamara Solom and Xander Moritz.
Hello again. Mr. McKibben was my music teacher in middle school. He taught me how to play Don't Stop Thinking About Tomorrow on the piano, and I got to play that at our chorus presentations. I also had a shop teacher who showed me how to build a shelf. I had a home economics teacher who taught me how to make a pumpkin pie and sew a pot holder that I gave to my grandma. I took gymnastics after school. I was horrible. I could only do the floor routine. I could not do the uneven bars. I could barely do the beam, but I was excited to be involved in school. And then I went on and did more dance and theater. As former program director of an arts enrichment program in Sarasota County Schools, enrichment activities like the arts and athletics build stronger bodies, they build stronger minds, they help with creative expression and physical and emotional health, all of which supports academic and social and emotional development of each and every student. Mr. Connor, I'm so excited at your response to try to figure out how to handle these schools of hope, this situation. And while I support the repeal of them, I know you're trying to backpedal and figure out how we can figure out how to manage this supposedly underutilized space. But I don't speak on behalf of current contractors or vendors, but I support enrichment. And I would like to ask you to please consider your business partners and contractors in your schools who pay an exorbitant amount of money to rent your facilities. Why not give them space on your campuses that are designated for your contractors who are business partners, who can do workshops for your students, and who can provide these enrichment opportunities during school hours as well as after school? Don't stop.
Thank you.
Xander Moritz and Sebastian Martinez.
Good morning, Board Superintendent Connor. My name is Xander Moritz, and I'm speaking as a proud Sarasota Schools alum who wants to see our district remain strong, transparent, and accessible to the people who rely on it every single day. Moving school board meetings from 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. and cutting the amount of meetings you will have in a year by half is a betrayal to Sarasota families. There are no community members more impacted by your decisions than students, parents, and teachers. But at 10 a.m., our parents are at work, our teachers are in their classrooms, and unless there's a government meeting that significantly disrupts their day-to-day lives, our students should be in their classrooms too. A public meeting that the public cannot attend is not public at all. This is especially troubling because several of our school board members, Bridget Ziegler, Karen Rose, and Robin Marinelli, y'all ran on increasing community participation and parent input. You promised transparency, you promised accountability, you promised accessibility. Now it looks like you're turning your backs on the families that trusted you. It looks like you're going back on your word. And the timing is impossible to ignore. This proposal arrives exactly 1 week after for-profit operators publicly laid claim to Sarasota schools and announced they wanted to take over our schools. In the year ahead, our district will be facing more challenges, more outside pressure, and more attempts to close our schools than at any point in recent history. And that's why we need to pay attention to our school board members who shake our heads no, because they'll be doing it as our schools are closing, and they'll continue to lie to your faces and turn their backs to you as well. We will need more community involvement, more parent leadership, and more student leadership in this coming year than ever before. Karen, Bridget, Robin, why are we advocating for less? It's also important to remember that our school board members cannot speak to each other outside of public meetings. That means that every reduction in public meeting time reduces how much the school board can work together, and it reduces how much the community can see, hear, and participate in this work. Cutting meeting times makes this board less responsive, less coordinated, and less accountable. If a board wanted to do right by its community, it would make itself accessible because it would be proud of the decisions it was making. If a board wanted to avoid accountability, hide from families, or distance itself from the consequences of their choice making, they would cut meetings in half and skip.
Thank you.
Sebastian Martinez and Jimmy Glover.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Again, my name is Sebastian Martinez, and I was unsure what I wanted to speak about during this section, but first I wanted to thank the district and its staff for the plan that it's put forward to reimagine our schools. I got to go to the community meeting at Booker Middle, and I know I saw Tom and Liz there, and overall I just think it was a great plan that was put together. I wasn't able to make the last meeting, but I guess I wanted to use this time to speak more about reflection. Whenever I would always go to school board meetings and I'd come home after them, albeit late at night, my mom would tell me really two things. One, she would ask if I was really at a school board meeting at 10 p.m. And so I'd have to pull up the video and prove that I was there. But two, she would always ask me to sit down and reflect. She didn't really ask me many questions about the board meeting, doesn't really understand the whole entire process of it. But one of the big things when coming to the United States is the fact that you have free speech. And so she always was for it and going out to go speak out. And so I guess the main thing that I wanted to talk about regarding reflection is, as board members going into this next year, asking to reflect on how you serve your communities, reflect on how you listen to communities, reflect how you engage with communities as well. I know oftentimes after I speak, I'll go home and I'll reflect, even when I'm sitting down between both sections of public comment, I'll reflect, but always ensure that you're able to have good communications. I know, Robin, you and I had really good conversations outside of Tiger Bay. I've had a conversation with Liz. I know I've spoken with you, Ms. Ziegler, as well, but consider having office hours or other ways for people to engage.
Thank you.
Jimmy Glover, Dorian Summerlin.
Good afternoon, board. Thank you. My name is Jimmy Glover. I'm the parent of public school graduates and a senior at Booker High. And in the interest of full disclosure, I'm also a candidate for school board. I want to speak today to the Phoenix Pledge that was recently adopted by the Florida Department of Education and praised by Ms. Ziegler. I have serious concerns about some of the language in this pledge and questions about what led to its adoption. This pledge was developed by the Heritage Foundation. And at a time when we're seeking to get politics out of our schools, I'm confused why we're consulting with an explicitly political group for guidance on how to educate our students. I also haven't heard about parents being consulted or surveyed about this pledge, despite Florida being committed to parental rights in education. Had I, as a parent, been asked about this pledge, I would have said that objective truth is a tricky concept and applied to hard sciences, where we're constantly learning new things about our world. I'd have concerns about using language about Judeo-Christian values when we're not supposed to have state religion. I'd said there's not a word in here about critical thinking skills, something incredibly important in today's world. And I would said that parents are tired of politics in our schools, and we want to focus on academics rather than rhetoric. When we allow political think tanks to guide our educational values, it's not about parental rights, it's about political control. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dorian Summerlin and Tracy Lipton.
what was the next speaker, Mrs. Tompkins?
Tracy Lipton?
There was Dorian before that. Okay.
Tracy Lipton, voter and taxpayer, and 20-year resident of Sarasota County. For-profit Schools of Hope has grown into a $400 million a year business, paying $0 into the school system for housing, transportation, supplies, food, janitorial services, etc. Yet they receive approximately $6,000 of our taxpayer monies for every student enrolled. And even when charter schools have been caught violating state laws, there have been no tools or means to demand compliance. Schools of Hope takes a disproportionately lower share of Black, brown, poor, and disabled children, as proven by records data. The only actual benefactors of Schools of Hope are the billionaire developers that are the CEOs and such of the parent corporations of Schools of Hope, such as Academica, the parent company attempting to squat in Sarasota County schools, taking away money and attention from our public school students. Show us that the motto, every student, every day, means something to you, for God's sake. Show us that it's more than words. In response to the explanations and decisions y'all made today, let me ask, how many town halls have we had? How many are planned? We know the answer. We were there for the one. Y'all said you see so many of us here, so clearly we can make it. But how many times did you hear today that students walked out to be here and parents have to work? Take note that this is not opaque. You are transparent, have fooled anyone, up to and including 3 of your the 5 only fans that just happen to greatly agree with your agenda. Remember in November.
Thank you.
Carol Mabey and Michelle Posey.
Thank you.
I'm Carol Mabey, and I just want to say that education is not for profit. Education is not for profit. And I want you to please do your homework on the parent company of these Schools of Hope by going to the Florida Division of Corporations, where you will find that the founder, Fernandez Zulita, and his family are still immediately involved for-profit company at the top of these non-for-profit Schools of Hope. Like I said, education is not for profit. Okay.
Thank you.
Michelle Posey and Bill Neese.
Hello again. I'm really confused right now because I thought we sat through an almost 3-hour meeting listening to people talk about how they really wanted to make sure that the board members heard them. But now in public comment, nobody's mentioned the fact that one board member can't even show up. So somebody has left after the vote for chair and vice chair and has refused to now come back for whatever reason. I don't see him through Zoom. He's elected to represent and listen to, isn't that what we've heard? You want to know that 99% of what happens is activist-led from the left in this dais, in this room? Nobody's mentioned that Tom Edwards can't be bothered to sit in his seat and finish the meeting like a big boy. And yet we're being preached to for 3 hours that all they want is for you to listen. Listen, you got to be able to call balls and strikes both ways. And I don't agree with that. That is not collaborative at all. I want to spend the rest of my time here to be able to say, I want to invite anybody from the board, from the administration, students, as well as staff and teachers. I am the director for the Turning Point USA Sarasota County Headquarters chapter, and we need mentors. We need those that want to volunteer. I'm excited to see Governor Ron DeSantis' strong admiration and respect for Club America charters. So I hope that our schools will allow this to continue unabashedly, but also we have a county-wide chapter. So if you'd like information, if you'd like to volunteer, please go to tpusasrq.com. Again, Michelle is the director. I would love to collaborate with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bill Neese and Robin Williams.
I'm sorry. That next time you outburst, you'll be removed.
I'm here to thank the board and the administration for their proactive, visionary work concerning our crisis. But I just want to point out, crisis is not always what it appears, because these trends and demographics that we're moving in America have been talked about since about, 2021, especially in major educational journals and in media. This isn't a surprise, what we're facing. What we're facing is lower demographics, and we're facing competition, but these things were known about. And of course, to put your head in the sand about them, which many districts did, and were embroiled in this massive, what I would call deception, called the COVID crisis, caused us to just push this down the road. And now we're facing it at a very rapid rate. And I appreciate all the hard work that has been put in by district leadership. They're not passive. It's a very active group of people trying to solve problems in an immediate sense. And to talk about all the things that are coming against us without solutions is just identifying a problem with no solution. So I appreciate the solution-based research that's been done and the action that's taking place. So with all that being said, I just say, go get them, keep working hard, work as a team, and we're going to get over this with the correct solution to the problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robin Williams and Summer Latino.
Williams, retired biology teacher. Please revise your legislative agenda to support Senator Rousson's bill SB 424, which gets rid of co-location. Lobby Senator Gruters to co-sponsor it and Representatives McFarland, Nixon, Buchanan to introduce a companion bill in the House. Co-location is like Verbo making big bucks renting room in your own home while you get stuck paying the mortgage, utilities, maintenance, healthcare, and food for squatters. It's not coincidental that language for this public theft legislation came from Citadel billionaire Ken Griffin and his friends at New York's Success Academy's lobbyists after donating over $28 million helping the Florida GOP retain state, House, and Senate seats. The charter vultures have already sent 690-plus letters to Florida public school districts, putting them on notice. They have their talons out for their school properties. Multiple operators are targeting more desirable schools. This is a winnable fight. Join together with parent groups, the School Boards Association, community groups, and Lobby Tallahassee. Many legislators will be afraid of losing their elections next year if they don't reverse this immediately. We have hope. Hands off public education. The Florida Board of Education should be blasted for their adoption of Heritage Foundation propaganda, the Phoenix Declaration, and for a curriculum with false history of the horrible McCarthy era, including the McCarthyite characterization of communists infiltrating the civil rights movement. They devote 29 pages to curriculum on the communist boogeyman, yet only 9 pages on all U.S. history. Our poor students. Protect our children. Sarasota's kindergarten vaccination rate's only 79.9%. 1,295 pertussis and 6 measles cases this year in Florida. Keep vaccine mandates lest children die from easily preventable diseases. Please.
Thank you.
Last speaker is Summer Latino.
Summer here. Well, that concludes public comment. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. I will move to board comments. Mrs. Rose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really would encourage the public to look at a perspective that isn't been repeated in this public comment for 2 years now, which is the politics coming into the boardroom. It's a very anti-legislative movement, if it isn't hard to pick up. It is very much wanting to use the school board arena to decide who's voted in locally and who's voted in the legislature. And I encourage those coming here that aren't in agreement with our legislators to travel to Tallahassee. You might get better results. The piece that I really would like to emphasize is that when you're talking to these folks who have talk a lot about their boots on the ground, not political though, so they say, when they come to you and they're anti-legislator and they profess the love of public schools, remember that your choice is to come to public school because we're the best, and that your choice with your, and this is the most important part, your tax dollars to go to the school that best meets your students' needs. If you ask these so-called boots on the ground a question, ask them that question. Do they agree with every parent in the Sarasota County community having the opportunity to use their tax dollars to best meet their students' needs? Because I do. And I did for all 30 years of my commitment to our public schools. And I always had a waiting list at my school because we worked to be the best. We didn't spend our time being anti-legislation. We didn't spend our time encouraging families and students to come in and be political in this boardroom and then point fingers that they're not. So one question, the boots on the ground that are out there, because they are, and they represent this movement, ask them. Every parent needs to ask them, do they agree with you being able to use your tax dollars to best meet your students' needs? Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Rose. Mrs. Marinelli.
Thank you. I have just a couple comments on observations that I've observed from comments from the people in this room. One, all of a sudden now, we're the bad guys on the School of Hope, where the last meeting, this board 5-0 voted for the superintendent and his staff for the reimagining. So you're twisting. 5-0. And then Superintendent Connor, could a person in the audience made the comment that we, the board, took away the ability for them to sign up on for the meetings, to talk online, that we took that away. Could you comment on that to let them know that these 5 board members had nothing to do with that? Because I want facts. I don't want all this made up stuff.
Sure. So the decision to remove that function is really technical in nature. So we have a policy that states that who goes in what order to speak in terms of whether you are a parent, a student, has precedence over maybe someone from out of county. Our current electronic system does not have the functionality to allow for that at this time. Also, it was a trial run from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So as we moved into the new portal that we're using now for our board meetings, it has always been intended as a trial run to see how that goes. And, you know, we've had some successes and we've had some setbacks. I made the decision to remove that electronic function because the paper version of that is much more easier to manage in this process as we go through 2 rounds of public comment. We also know that there were several who were submitting and it wasn't submitting, and so they were left off the list. So there was technicalities there. So we wanted to make sure that we go back to a process that's tried and true. And the paper version is working well. Honestly, I don't know whether we go back to the electronic version. For the efficiency and the process, I haven't seen that the electronic submission is a better process than our paper version. So, but that remains to be seen. We'll continue to work through it. In theory, it should be better, but in reality, the electronic version has caused more problems.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Marinelli. And Mrs. Barker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have two things I want to briefly discuss today. The first is, yes, across the state of Florida, had almost 700 filed notices of intent by charter operators to co-locate in schools across the state. It is my understanding that 4 notices were sent to Sarasota, 2 from Somerset Academy, which is not a Florida Board of Education approved provider, and 2 from Matter Academy, both for the same 2 schools, Emma E. Booker Elementary and Brookside Middle. I would love for the superintendent and Mr. Duggan to give us an update on where we are with that, because I think our community is really engaged and wanting to know where we are, and also if we intend to file objections, where we are in that process. So that's my first thing, but then don't.
You have not yielded the floor, Mr. Superintendent.
Yes, we did receive 4 letters, and 2 for Brookside, 2 for Emma E. Booker. One set of those letters was for Mater, which originally filed prematurely back in October, and then for the same schools, Somerset, which I believe are all under the same operations of Academica, Somerset and. We do know that Somerset Academy is not an approved HOPE operator at this time, at least designated by the state. So we will be filing our objections to those particular letters in that vein. When it comes to Mater Academy, we will be filing several objections related to our Future Focus initiative. By virtue of approving our plan and being approved by the Florida Department of Education, the details of those letters concerning enrollment and what they intend to do over the next 3 to 5 years in terms of capacity would not be feasible under our new plan, because we have repurposed several of those facilities, depending on, well, let's start with Emma Booker. 2 buildings are going to be repurposed with our junior achievement lease option for Biztown and Finance Park. By virtue of doing that, there would only be 99 seats available at Emma Booker. But the letter that was filed was for over 500 seats. So there would not be able to do that. But just on that and other objections, we are going to outline. We have not filed those to date, but we definitely intend to file those before Thanksgiving break.
Thank you. That's very helpful, and I think it's important for you all to know that we are actively addressing this, and we hear you, and we are on the same page. And then the second thing I really wanted to address is on Friday, last Friday, through the Education Foundation, we had the opportunity as board members and members of leadership staff to honor our Teachers of the Year at the elementary, middle, and high school level. And it was such a joy to be a part of that. And so I want to publicly thank the Education Foundation and to also relay my congratulations and gratitude to Becky Hoffman, 5th grade teacher at Pineview, Holly Pisaturo, McIntosh Middle School art teacher, and Andy Harshman, Sarasota High School. We are so grateful that you choose to work with our students here in Sarasota. We know how lucky we are. We do not take you for granted, and delighted to honor you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Barker, and thank you for highlighting that. Again, congratulations to our Teachers of the Year. I know that's always an exciting day. Your cheeks hurt afterwards, but it is exciting, especially when there's a lot of heavy topics that we have to address here, as noted. But when we're out in the schools doing those moments, it is an exciting and great reminder about all the hard work that's done. A couple different things I want to highlight from the legislative agenda that people had brought up. I can tell you, I know many of us are having conversations with legislators and leadership to understand some of the nuances. I know the superintendent has talked pretty exhaustively about the areas of which it's not that we're afraid of competition. And I would say the output and proposal that he put forward and passed unanimously by this board is a great example of why choice really elevates the game. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, it always will, because it just, if you don't have that competition, the complacency sets in. And we can't afford that when it comes to education, full stop. That said, I know that there are conversations happening to clarify some of the operating components, the shared costs there, because I think there is a reality of wanting to find an equal playing field, realistically, at least my personal opinion, just as it was when we talked about the scholarship programs and making sure that the administrative side of it is effective, such that where it's following and tracking the students accurately. These are all very pragmatic, logical things that we are bringing forward. But I also want to stress that I don't want, as one board member, I object putting any forward resolution. I think it's a bad strategy. And I think that we're in a much better place. I want to focus on Sarasota County. I'm not looking at the state of Florida that at all. And we're in a good position because we have great leadership. They were prepared. They were already looking at it before all of this dropped effectively. And we had a board that got behind it and a community that's rallied together. So in my mind, I want to move forward. So we're focusing on how do we execute these? These are big things that we have to do by August. And that lends me to the community meetings. So again, I'm going to applaud superintendent and his team. There were a number of community meetings that weren't on the schedule in that town hall-esque, but as a response and to get engagement on very critical decisions when it came to the reimagining, am I saying it right? Reimagining? Future Focus Initiative. I got to get it like a acronym or something. So, but I think that it's important to note how quickly that was able to be executed and how much response was provided that way. And again, if the goal, I know a gentleman came up here and wanted to list all these, buzzwords that sound good on, a quick clip for social media, but there's real substantive discussions and issues being handled and addressed and voted and acted upon. And so it's not, the cutting out of public comment is not an accurate piece. And the engagement with our community has only been strengthened. And while it may not look like it did for years before, I'm glad it doesn't, because we're better for it. We're getting closer to the community. We're getting in real time, getting responses to things that impact them when it comes to their schools, their neighborhood schools, their communities. So I feel very confident that if I felt that there really is a restriction on public comment and feedback from a variety of stakeholders, I would be first to be saying we can't do that. I know we're going above and beyond and doing it in a different model, and the outcome was proven last week in the proposal. So I'm appreciative of the work because I know it takes a lot more, but as we move forward with the execution of a lot of these, I have to imagine there will be more of those kind of community style meetings. I want to, again, ensure that there's some flexibility so we're not just going through motions because people ask for 2 meetings that really end up with public comment talking about, because then one certain agenda item wasn't on the one that we're talking about at 6 o'clock versus 10 o'clock. Like, these are all, it's fodder. It's not substantive. And now we have a structure that has been illustrated to work that I hope that we will continue to do. I'm pretty confident we will. And we have that flexibility. So I wanted to highlight that because I think it's a little disingenuous by some. And listen, I welcome anyone to come and say whatever they want to say. I think to the ire of some of my board members over the years, that I have a very high bar when it comes to what, for public comment. And so go ahead, but I want to call out what's real and what's not. And I think the proposals, the execution, and the academic outcomes that are increasing month over month, that's what matters. That's what we're all here for. So wanted to highlight that. I also want to highlight the Department of Education's, the Phoenix Declaration. I am very excited to see their adoption of that. I encourage everyone to read it. I don't know how you couldn't be in support of it. And the thing I think is so important is it's not a conservative values and it's not liberal or progressive. It's American values for education and a vision for American education. I think many of us feel like the last 10 years, 5 years for sure, there's a fight between I'm anti this, we anti that, anti this. This is an opportunity, and I'm so grateful that Florida is really leading with the adoption of it by being we are for. No more what we're against. Let's talk about what we're for and how we can unite upon that as American and to really accelerate the education opportunities for every child in America. So I am unapologetically supportive of that declaration. If that concludes all my comments. If we are done, I will thank everyone for coming today. I do not have the agenda yet for the next work session, which is December 2nd, but I want to highlight because the absenteeism conversation has come up as far as the policy, and I know that when it comes to, that will be at a future workshop. Is that correct? Because it needs to be addressed, and I know that it will continue to be requested. So wanted to, it's coming soon to you, December 2nd at 10 a.m. And our next regular board meeting is for Tuesday, December 16th at 10 a.m. If there are any more comments? Okay, without objection, we are adjourned.